In the magical city, at Fuxing University, Feng stood there in casual clothes, holding a black plastic bag, completely confused. This is Fuxing University. How did I end up here? He scanned his surroundings until his gaze settled on the bag in his hand. This plastic bag feels so familiar. Wait, my clothes are inside. Suddenly, a sense of déjà vu washed over him. After a few minutes of collecting himself, he recalled taking a private jet to the southwest that morning, only to encounter a thunderstorm that caused the plane to lose power and plummet. In the dizzying chaos, he nearly lost consciousness. Wasn't I supposed to be dead? Am I reborn? This thought flickered through his mind, influenced by the novels he often read in school, where protagonists would frequently be reborn or travel through time. He confirmed to himself that he was indeed reborn. Just then, he overheard some students whispering about him, calling him a new student, while he stood there dazed for nearly half an hour, mumbling to himself. Habitually glancing at his wrist, he realized he wasn't wearing a watch. Setting the bag down, he rummaged through it and pulled out his phone. September 1, 2019. A Sunday. He quickly calculated the date and was astonished to find he had returned to 5 years ago, the very first day he registered at university. Wait. September 1st. Su Liuli. The image of a stunning girl surfaced in his mind. Su Liuli, a senior at Fuxing University and a top music student, had confessed to him on this day 5 years ago at the school's entrance. Back then, he was so taken aback that he ran away in shock. Later, he learned that the girl who confessed was known as the school beauty, Su Liuli. They had crossed paths multiple times during his university life, but after her graduation, he lost contact with her. Now, reborn, would that scene play out again? He stopped, looking around, but didn't he see Su Liuli? What if she didn't come? As he pondered this, he walked forward, and after a couple of minutes, a sweet voice rang out behind him. Hello. Are you a new student? Turning around, Feng saw Su Liuli, her face slightly flushed with nerves. Having never had a boyfriend, confessing to a boy was daunting for her. Her roommates had insisted on playing a game of truth or dare, and she had lost, compelling her to gather the courage to confess to the most special boy in the crowd. Seeing the black plastic bag in Feng's hand made her wonder if it held nothing but plastic bottles. Upon hearing her voice, Feng turned. Su Liuli stood before him, her slender figure accentuated by a black dress that showcased her long legs. She instantly drew the attention of those around them. Yes, I'm a new student. Do you need something, senior? Feng feigned confusion, unsure of what to say. Su Liuli felt even more anxious, her hands clenched, her cheeks burning. It was incredibly awkward to confess like this on their first meeting, and she felt like disappearing into the ground. But she had already committed, and there was no turning back. A few tall girls in the distance watched intently. Do you think Liuli will really confess? One asked, worried for her friend. She's never had a boyfriend, I hope she doesn't embarrass herself, another whispered. They were merely joking but didn't want their friend to falter. From a distance, with newfound courage, Su Liuli declared loudly, I'm Su Liuli, and I like you. Her voice was clear, and nearly everyone passing by could hear her. Feng was taken aback, he hadn't expected her to confess so boldly. 5 years ago, her voice had been a whisper, and now it was strong. You like me, he responded, stunned. Well, lucky for you, I don't have a girlfriend. He decided to take the plunge. I agree. My high school teacher was right, university life is wonderful, and I found a girlfriend right after arriving. Senior, can I have your phone number? He asked, pulling out his phone without hesitation. Su Liuli was taken aback. She hadn't anticipated this reaction. They had just met. Aren't you worried I might be a bad person? She asked nervously. A bad person? You're too beautiful to be one, he replied, shaking his head firmly. Holding his phone, he waited eagerly for her to give him her number. Finally, after much hesitation, she provided her phone number. My number is. With a satisfied smile, Feng said, I still need to register, so I'll head out now. I'll call you tonight, and we can have dinner together. Without giving her a chance to respond, he turned and walked away with the plastic bag in hand. Left standing there, Su Liuli felt a mix of emotions, realizing that her game of truth or dare had led her to genuinely becoming someone's girlfriend. Chapter 2, This joke went too far. Noticing Ji Feng leave, Wang Mani and the others hurriedly ran to Su Liuli. At that moment, Su Liuli seemed to still be in a daze, her beautiful eyes fixed on the direction Ji Feng had gone. Liuli, what happened? How did the confession go? Wang Mani asked with a bright smile, linking her slender arm with Su Liuli's. Liu Xiaoyu and Dong Zhizhi had similar expressions, having watched the entire scene from a distance and seen Ji Feng take out his phone to note down her number. Mani, Zhizhi, Xiaoyu, this is all your fault. Su Liuli exclaimed. Now I've confessed and ended up in this situation. Her flawless face was flushed, her eyes full of panic. Wow. He agreed. Wait, did this guy really not realize you were joking? Wang Mani's mouth dropped open, astonished that anyone could miss such an obvious setup. Oh no. Our Liuli is taken now. This joke really went too far. Sorry, boys of Fuxing University. Dong Zhizhi joked, bringing some lightness to the situation. HMPH, Zhizhi, you're teasing me. Su Liuli turned her head away, still flustered by Ji Feng's invitation to dinner later that evening, and now she didn't even know his name. Calm down, Liuli. Worst case, you can explain later. Liu Xiaoyu suggested. Tomorrow night is the freshman party, and you have rehearsal this afternoon, right? Let us hurry back and change. She gently took Su Liuli's arm. Realizing the rehearsal was more important than her current predicament, Su Liuli finally snapped back to reality. Meanwhile, Ji Feng walked towards the registration window, clutching his black plastic bag. Along the way, numerous upperclassmen greeted the new students warmly, but no one approached him to offer help. Fortunately, he remembered the route to the registration office. I wonder if those guys have arrived yet. I think they should be here by now. He recalled that when he registered 5 years ago, his unreliable roommates were already settled in. Following the familiar path, he reached the registration desk and completed his paperwork before heading to the dormitory. Entering the boys' dormitory, he climbed the stairs to the second floor. Room 246, I'm back. Looking up at the dorm number stirred mixed emotions in him. He never thought he'd return here. Just as he was about to push open the door, it swung open. Huh. A young man appeared, short and fair-skinned, giving off a refined vibe. Hey, are you? Jiangyu stared at Ji Feng, puzzled. I'm your roommate. My name is Ji Feng. What are you doing? I'm just going out to buy something. Nice to meet you, Ji Feng. I'm Jiangyu. He raised his hand, ready to shake. Seeing Jiangyu's politeness, Ji Feng smiled and exchanged greetings. They would be overly familiar soon enough, perhaps to the point of calling each other bro. Zhang Tianyu and Xiao Kai are here too. They just went out. Do you want to tidy up together? We can go shopping. Ji Feng realized he still needed daily necessities, so it made sense to go together. Sure. I don't have much stuff, just some clothes, so I'll just put them away. The school provided bedding, so all they needed was a change of clothes. Ji Feng raised his plastic bag, prompting a look of shock from Jiangyu. Ji Feng, what else with the bag? Sorry for the embarrassment. This is all my family prepared for me, he said, feeling helpless. It felt ridiculous to arrive at college with just a black plastic bag, almost like a scavenger. That's okay. Jiangyu offered, I have a spare backpack you can borrow. Without waiting, he opened a nearby cabinet and handed Ji Feng a new backpack. Ji Feng stood momentarily stunned, holding the backpack, feeling grateful. Jiangyu interpreted his expression as deep gratitude. You unpack while I wait for you over there. Jiangyu moved to a nearby chair to give him space. Glancing at the backpack, Ji Feng recalled that 5 years ago, it was Tianyu who had given him a backpack, while Xiao Kai treated him to dinner. This time, it was Jiangyu offering help. He wondered who would treat them to dinner later. Despite their casual attitudes, these roommates were genuinely kind-hearted. Ji Feng accepted Jiangyu's kindness without hesitation, quickly folding his clothes and placing them in the cabinet before they set off together to buy toiletries. Arriving at the nearest supermarket, they found it packed with students, mostly freshmen, buying essentials like basins, kettles, towels, and toothbrushes. There were even several girls with large plush toys. Hey! Jiangyu, a familiar voice called out. They turned to see Zhang Tianyu and Xiao Kai approaching. Tianyu, Xiao Kai, let me introduce you. This is our roommate, Ji Feng. Jiangyu initiated the introductions, and the faces of Tianyu and Xiaokai lit up with smiles. Hello, Jiu Feng. I'm Zhang Tianyu, but just call me Tianyu. I'm Xiaokai. Don't call me Kai Z. Oh, nice to meet you, Tianyu, and you too, Kai Z. Jiu Feng replied, pretending to be confused. The moment they heard Kai Z, Tianyu and Jiangyu's expressions were priceless, while Xiaokai looked utterly dumbfounded. Har har har, Jiu Feng, are you doing this on purpose? By the way, weren't you two supposed to go shopping? Where's your stuff? With empty hands, they looked rather ridiculous. Oh, we wanted to buy some stuff, they admitted. Look at this, can we even get in? They noticed a long queue forming outside the supermarket. It seemed impossible to get inside, and they contemplated checking other stores, but soon realized all four supermarkets were equally overcrowded. Chapter 3, The Campus Beauty is Naturally Su Liuli. The school supermarket is out of the question. Why don't we go outside? Zhang Tianyu glanced at the crowded supermarket ahead. With so many students arriving, it seemed like they'd have to wait until evening just to buy some essentials. Jiangyu and Xiaokai nodded in agreement, and Jiu Feng, standing nearby, also followed suit with a nod. The four of them headed towards the school gate, preparing to buy supplies outside. Guys, have you heard about the beauty of our department? Xiaokai asked, walking ahead and whispering back to Jiu Feng and the others. I think the beauty of our finance department is called Lan Feier, he added. Lan Feier? Kaizi, where did you hear that? I don't know anything about it. Jiangyu and Zhang Tianyu exchanged puzzled looks, clearly unaware of who she was. As for Jiu Feng, he had known Lan Feier for years, having been in the same department and seen her many times. While Lan Feier was indeed beautiful, she paled in comparison to Su Liuli. Su Liuli's looks and charm were in a league of their own, unmatched by most girls. Seeing that Zhang Tianyu was also shaking his head, Jiangyu turned to Jiu Feng, who was silent. Jiu Feng, have you heard of Lan Feier? Me? Jiu Feng shrugged. I haven't heard anything. It's my first day here, and I don't even know who our advisor is. None of them had any clue, but Xiaokai was clearly proud, rolling up his sleeves to share his knowledge. It's obvious you guys didn't do your homework before school started. I'll tell you, our department's Lan Feier is a sophomore, recognized as the beauty of the finance department. I even saw her photo in a group chat before school started. She's definitely a top-notch beauty. Xiaokai was animated, as if he personally knew her. Jiangyu smirked, Kai Z, if you know our department's beauty, do you know who the campus beauty is? The moment the campus beauty was mentioned, Xiaokai perked up. You're testing me, aren't you? The campus beauty of Fuxing University is, of course, Su Liuli, our Su Liuli. Have you guys never seen it on the school website? Lan Feier is indeed pretty, but compared to Su Liuli, wow, she's on another level. Xiaokai clicked his tongue, a hint of regret on his face. I've seen her too. The first time I did, I was absolutely stunned. No wonder she's recognized as the campus beauty. She's even more beautiful than I imagined. Too bad, Su Liuli is already a senior. After this year, even if I wanted to see her, there wouldn't be a chance. As Jiangyu spoke, Zhang Tianyu jumped in. But I heard that Su Liuli is going to perform at the freshman party. Right. I saw the program list too. Su Liuli is definitely on it, performing a song and dance. The three of them chatted as they walked, transitioning from talking about the beauty of their department to discussing the campus beauty. Jiu Feng quietly followed behind, his expression quite revealing. What they didn't know was that the stunning campus beauty, Su Liuli, had just confessed to him at the school gate. Most importantly, he had agreed to dinner later. Right, I still need to invite Su Liuli to dinner tonight. Almost forgetting the main point, Jiu Feng took out his phone while they continued talking, finding Su Liuli's number. He quickly composed a text, letting her know he would be waiting for her at the girls' dorm at 5 p.m. Meanwhile, in the music classroom, Su Liuli was rehearsing when her phone vibrated. She tied her hair up and walked to the table to grab her phone. Upon opening a message from an unknown number, her face turned pale, and her brow furrowed with tension. The boy she had confessed to at the gate sent her a message saying he would be waiting downstairs at the dormitory, and the worst part was that she didn't even know his name. Su Liuli. Are you okay? You look really nervous. Noticing Su Liuli's unusual demeanor, a girl in dance attire walked over. If Xiaokai were there, he would surely be shocked to find out that this girl was none other than Lan Feier, the beauty of the finance department. In the spacious rehearsal room, there were 7 or 8 girls, all of whom matched or exceeded Lan Feier in looks and figure. Liuli, are you feeling unwell? Why don't we wrap up rehearsal here? We've done enough, and tomorrow's freshman party should be fine. Plus, there's still time tomorrow. Ning Yueying, tall and elegant, stepped forward, her voice gentle and melodious. As the beauty of the dance academy, she was even taller than Lan Feier. With her long legs, her figure was nothing short of stunning. Hearing their words, Su Liuli shook her head gently. The freshman party was important, and she couldn't let her discomfort stop the rehearsal. It's fine, we'll continue rehearsing. She placed her phone back on the table, having made up her mind. Su Liuli insisted on continuing, prompting Lan Feier and Ning Yueying to return to their positions. Meanwhile, Feng and the others had made their way outside the supermarket and had been chatting non-stop. Aside from discussing the campus beauties, they talked about some of the school leaders, including the elusive principal who was rarely seen. Half an hour later, they finally found a larger supermarket that was less crowded. Just as they were about to browse, Feng's phone suddenly vibrated. He picked it up, puzzled, and to his surprise, it was a reply from Su Liuli. The message was brief, got it. Holding the phone, a faint smile crept across Feng's face. He never expected Su Liuli would actually reply. Noticing Feng grinning at his phone, the three of them paused, and Xiaokai sneaked up. Feng, what's with the silly smile? Are you so happy because you found a girlfriend? Caught in the joy of the message, Feng was startled when Xiaokai spoke up. Kai Zi, are you trying to scare me? I didn't mean to scare you. It's just that you've been staring at your phone, looking completely smitten. Seriously, have you started dating? Is she from our school? What department is she in? What's her name? Chapter 4, The Campus Beauty's Girlfriend. Xiaokai stood beside Feng, his face filled with curiosity. Finding a girlfriend on the first day of school was an incredible stroke of luck. Amid Xiaokai's incessant questioning, Feng could only manage a dry laugh, unable to respond. If only Xiaokai knew that his silly smile was due to a message from the campus beauty of Fuxing University, he would probably drop his jaw in surprise. Kai Zi, let's focus on shopping first, Feng suggested. Let's go buy some stuff, he added, patting Xiaokai on the shoulder and quickly walking into the supermarket. Zhang Tianyu and Jiangyu followed suit, leaving Xiaokai standing there, looking a bit silly. Seems quite mysterious, he muttered under his breath, but with Feng not wanting to elaborate, he had no choice but to hurry after them. After selecting a bunch of necessities at the supermarket, the four finally managed to carry everything back to the dorm. Damn. I'm exhausted. Once they placed their items under the bed, Xiaokai collapsed onto it. Although it didn't feel heavy at first, maintaining the same position while walking had almost dislocated his arms. Feng and Jiangyu weren't in much better shape. On the other hand, Zhang Tianyu seemed completely unfazed, displaying a relaxed demeanor his larger build made carrying the load feel like child's play. What do you guys want for dinner tonight? On the first day of school, dinner's on me. Zhang Tianyu grinned at the exhausted trio as he stood by the bed. Tianyu, I might not be free tonight. Some of my high school classmates also got into Fuxing University. We plan to go out for dinner together. Jiangyu said, scratching his head sheepishly. Upon hearing this, Feng immediately chimed in, Tianyu, I also have plans tonight. How about we go tomorrow instead? Tomorrow night, I'll treat you all, he declared, patting his chest. Jiangyu looked surprised when Feng offered to treat. No, let me pay. Tomorrow night, we'll eat together, and no one else should insist on treating. Let me handle it, he insisted, knowing Feng's financial situation. Har, fine. Since that's settled, I'll just go with Kai Zi for dinner tonight. But you better remember, you're treating us tomorrow. Zhang Tianyu added, clapping Jiangyu on the shoulder, almost knocking him over. After resting for a while, Feng headed out of the dorm at 4:30 p.m. towards the girls' dorm. Walking from the boys' dorm to where Su Liuli was, he started contemplating whether he should rebuild his business empire. Before his rebirth, with the help of his family, he had established his empire. Reborn 5 years earlier, a comeback shouldn't be too difficult. Previously, he had been involved in research, real estate, and gaming. Over these 5 years, the real estate sector had been steadily growing, leaving some room for investment. However, 5 years from now, the real estate market would face a downturn, making further investment akin to digging his own grave. Research required enormous funds, which he couldn't afford at the moment. Right now, the easiest field to enter was the gaming industry. Peak competition. This game should still be in development. 5 years ago, the most profitable game he invested in was Peak Competition, which returned over 10 billion from an investment of 30 million in just 2 years. It was his most successful investment. This game came from a hobby group in the computer science department at Su University. At that time, it required 30 million to invest, but now, it was likely in early development, needing far less. Currently, he only had a little over $1 million available, a sum gifted by his grandmother before he started school. As he pondered his plans for a comeback, he had unknowingly reached the girls' dormitory. Compared to the first-year girls' dorm, there were significantly fewer people on the fourth-year side. Standing at the entrance for 5 minutes, he only saw 2 upperclassmen come and go, making the place feel quite desolate. Another 5 minutes passed, and just as it was about 2 or 3 minutes to 5, Su Liuli, dressed in a black dress, appeared on the steps. She was still dressed as before, lingering on the steps, not coming down. Nervously gazing at Feng from afar, her heart raced as they locked eyes for several seconds before she finally mustered the courage to walk up to him. "I'm sorry, I'm late." Her hands clasped tightly, her shiny black hair draped casually over her shoulders, not daring to meet Feng's gaze directly. Su Liuli blushed, while Feng remained remarkably at ease. After all, having been reborn, his mindset was far more mature than Su Liuli's innocent demeanor. "It's not even 5 o'clock yet. You're not late. What do you want to eat tonight?" "I'm fine with anything, even at the school cafeteria," she replied softly, glancing at him and then looking away. At the school cafeteria. "Today is the freshman's first day. The cafeteria will be very crowded. I'll take you somewhere outside. You seem a bit nervous." Seeing her flustered state, Feng smiled lightly, teasing her. "I'm not. I'm just not quite used to it. I don't even know your name yet." Suppressing her fluttering heart, Su Liuli slowly looked up, her long eyelashes fluttering as she gazed at him. "My surname is I'm Feng." After his introduction, Su Liuli nodded slightly. "I'm Su Liuli." "I know," he replied, maintaining his smile. Su Liuli was undeniably adorable at this moment, shedding any trace of the aloofness typical of a campus beauty. Surprised, Su Liuli raised an eyebrow. "You know?" She had never told Feng her name. How did he know? Of course, everyone knows that Su Liuli is the campus beauty of Fuxing University. I doubt there are many who don't know your name. That said, I'm quite lucky to find such a beautiful girlfriend like you on the first day of school. Feng expected Su Liuli to refute his comment, but to his surprise, her face turned even redder as she silently accepted his words. "Let us go. It's time for dinner." Having stood there for a while, it was now past 5 o'clock, and it was time to eat. Feng turned around, and Su Liuli silently followed him, walking side by side. Perhaps because of Su Liuli's beauty and figure, every classmate they passed, both male and female, cast curious glances at the two of them. Chapter 5, For the rest of my life, please take care of me. Su Liuli silently followed Feng, ignoring the curious gazes from the people around them. As the campus beauty, she was used to receiving attention, so she hardly noticed it anymore. Feng, being thick-skinned himself, was mainly focused on Su Liuli, making him indifferent to the stares from others. Once they stepped out of Fuxing University, they found that restaurants occupied about 80% of the street. "Have you decided what you want to eat?" Walking side by side, since he was treating Su Liuli, it was only right that she chose the meal. When asked again about what she wanted to eat, Su Liuli paused and gazed into the distance for a moment. "How about noodles? The beef noodles over there are really good. My roommates and I often go there." Lifting her delicate hand, Su Liuli pointed toward a restaurant, and Feng spotted a place that wasn't too big but had a noticeable crowd. "Great, let us have beef noodles. Let us go." He initially intended to treat her to a lavish meal, but since she mentioned beef noodles, he felt it wouldn't be right to refuse. After looking around to ensure no cars were coming, they crossed the street to the restaurant. Inside, the dining area was spacious but quite crowded. After ordering 2 bowls of beef noodles at the front desk, the waiter led them to a corner table. Feng sat on the outside, while Su Liuli took the inner seat against the wall. Once seated, their eyes met, creating an awkward atmosphere. Actually, Su Liuli hesitated, wanting to explain something. Just as Feng was about to ask, she seemed to gather her resolve. Actually, confessing to you today was an accident. I was hanging out with a few roommates, and we were playing truth or dare at the entrance. I lost, so I ended up confessing to you. She wanted to gauge Feng's reaction. To her surprise, he seem shocked at all. Aren't you mad? Mad? Why would I be mad? Do you want to back out? She asked, a playful smile on her lips as she filled a cup with water and set it in front of Su Liuli. Of course not. Su Liuli quickly shook her head. That's not what I meant, I just wanted to explain. Well, no, that's good. I thought you were going to say you don't want to be my girlfriend. As Feng finished speaking, Su Liuli was momentarily at a loss for words. After a long pause, she stammered, I've never had a boyfriend before, so I don't have much experience. You? Coincidentally, I've never had a girlfriend either. In that case, please take care of me in the future. He raised his water cup as if making a toast to her. This simple gesture made Su Liuli laugh, her earlier nervousness dissipated significantly. Okay, please take care of me too. She picked up her cup and gently tapped his before taking a sip. Seeing her drink, Feng couldn't fall behind, so he raised his cup and took a big gulp. Puh. Too hot. He had intended to impress her with a big drink, but he didn't expect the water to be scalding. Noticing his reaction, Su Liuli quickly handed him a napkin with concern. Are you okay? Wiping his mouth, Feng placed the cup back on the table. I'm fine, luckily, the water temperature isn't too high, or it would definitely affect our meal. How can you still be thinking about food at a time like this? Su Liuli muttered under her breath just as their waiter arrived with their beef noodles. They ate in silence, neither of them speaking. Once they finished their meal, Feng planned to take Su Liuli for a stroll, but she received a phone call and mentioned she had to go rehearse for a program tonight. That's unfortunate. With his plans thwarted, he could only walk Su Liuli back to school. As they neared the academic area, Su Liuli gradually came to a halt. I can go to the classroom by myself. Today is the first day of school, you should get some rest. The rehearsal room was in the opposite direction of the dorms, so she didn't want Feng to accompany her. After Su Liuli spoke, Feng hesitated but ultimately agreed. He watched as she walked away, only taking his eyes off her when she disappeared from view. On his way back to the dorm, just under 100 meters away, his phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated. Taking it out, he was momentarily stunned when he saw the caller ID. Pressing the answer button, he held the phone to his ear. Mom, you still remember me? You little rascal, are you looking for trouble? In the capital, within the family manor, a middle-aged woman in a suit lounged on the sofa. It was Feng's mother, Song Hualan. Opposite her was an elderly woman with white hair, leaning on a cane, his grandmother. Please don't, I don't want to get into trouble. Feng chuckled, quickly conceding when his mother threatened him. He didn't dare provoke a woman who could intimidate even his father. Your grandmother misses you and asked me to call you so she could talk to you. Mom, let grandma talk to Feng. Rising, she handed the phone to his grandmother, who took it eagerly. Feng, how was your first day of school? Suddenly moving to Modu for school, and with you not here, I have no one to talk to. Hearing his grandmother's familiar voice brought a pang of emotion to Feng's heart. I'm doing well, Grandma. I'll come back to see you after military training in a few days. Okay, Grandma will be waiting for you. Make sure to build good relationships with your classmates, and if you have time, find a girlfriend. You're a grown man now, and you've never been in a relationship. How can that be? Feng couldn't help but laugh at his grandmother's words. It didn't surprise him at all. Back in high school, she had already started urging him to find a girlfriend. With such forward-thinking views, few parents could compare. Don't worry, Grandma, I'll find a girlfriend soon. By the way, while I'm not around, make sure to keep an eye on your mom. What if she bullies your girlfriend when you bring one home? Bully? Impossible. You don't know your mom, does she bully people? For all these years, I've only seen her bully you and dad. She's polite to grandma and certainly wouldn't bully a future daughter-in-law. His grandmother spoke with utmost confidence, knowing how spoiling she would be with her future daughter-in-law. After chatting with his grandmother for over 20 minutes, it was only when his mother, Song Hualan, reminded her that the call finally ended. Chapter 6, For Ticket Stubs. After grandma hung up the phone, Jiu Feng headed straight back to the dormitory. Jiangyu was at a class reunion, and Zhang Tianyu was playing basketball, leaving only Xiao Kai sitting on his bed playing video games. Jiu Feng, you're back. Did you see the program list for the welcome party tomorrow night? It's going to be epic. Not only is the school beauty performing, but every college also has its own dance partner. Even our department's Lanfear will be on stage. Jiu Feng climbed onto his bed, while Xiao Kai set his phone aside, full of excitement. Really? Then we need to find a good spot. Leaning back against the blanket, Jiu Feng calmly replied. Tomorrow night, Su Liuli would be performing, and the school beauty Xiao Kai mentioned was probably Su Liuli, since she was the only one in the entire Rejuvenation University. Of course. We have to get a good spot. Xiao Kai said firmly and continued, the welcome party is on the playground, so getting a good seat won't be easy. Should we go claim our spots right after lunch? At this, Jiu Feng was taken aback. The welcome party starts at 6. Isn't it too early to go at noon? An hour or two early would be fine. Going that early meant sitting out in the sun for over 4 hours. The weather was hot, and even if one didn't faint from the heat, they'd be exhausted and wouldn't have the energy to enjoy the show later. Isn't that too early? Just check our school forum. Many people plan to go claim spots right after breakfast. According to them, if we go at noon, we might not even get a spot. The welcome party at Rejuvenation University is like a spring festival gala. Xiao Kai was surprised that a welcome party could attract so much attention, drawing not only freshmen but also upperclassmen eager to attend. Hearing this, Jiu Feng pulled out his phone and opened the school forum. Sure enough, many people were planning to head to the playground after breakfast. 5 years ago, it wasn't this crazy. Did I just not pay attention? He muttered, recalling that 5 years ago, Su Liuli also performed at the welcome party, and he had arrived just in time. He had found a random spot and sat in a corner. Although he didn't have the best view, he could hear everything clearly. Jiu Feng, what are you mumbling about? Are we really going to claim spots tomorrow at noon? Not catching what Jiu Feng said, Xiao Kai pressed for an answer. Yeah, let us go. It's just for hours we can manage. Jiu Feng was eager to support his girlfriend's performance. All right. Once Tianyu and Jiangyu are back, I'll tell them we're going at noon. After saying this, Xiao Kai picked up his phone again to play games. Around 7 in the evening, Zhang Tianyu returned in basketball gear and greeted Jiu Feng and Xiao Kai before heading to the bathroom. Jiangyu didn't come back until 9:30, just before the dormitory doors closed. When Jiu Feng informed the two about the plan to claim seats at noon, they agreed without hesitation. At 10 o'clock, just as Jiu Feng was about to lie down, his phone vibrated beside his pillow. He picked it up and was surprised to see it was a call from Su Liuli. Hello? I just finished rehearsal and am on my way back to the dorm. Meet me in front of your dorm building at 7 tomorrow morning, I have something for you. Su Liuli's gentle voice came through the phone. What are you bringing? It's a secret. Gotta go, I'm heading back now. Remember, 7 o'clock in front of the dorm. After repeating this, Su Liuli hung up. Jiu Feng was left curious about what she was bringing. The night passed without incident. The next day, as the clock struck 6, while Xiao Kai and the others were still fast asleep, Jiu Feng got up and went to the balcony to tidy up. Since they had agreed to meet Su Liuli at 7, he had no intention of being late. At 6:45, after quickly changing clothes, he quietly left the dormitory. As he reached the front of the dorm building, he spotted Su Liuli waiting not far away. The morning air was cool, and Su Liuli wore a white dress with a short top, accentuating her tall figure even more. Wasn't it supposed to be 7? It's only 6:50. Looking at his phone, Jiu Feng noticed the time, realizing Su Liuli had been waiting for a while. I wanted to come early this time. Here's something for you. With bright eyes, she handed him several tickets. What are these? The tickets she handed over bore the school seal, and Feng was momentarily stunned. These are front row tickets for tonight's welcome party. 4 in total. Front row tickets for the welcome party. Liuli, where did you get these? Feng raised an eyebrow, surprised. Front row seats were far better than general seating, closer to the stage and at a good angle. Typically, the front rows were reserved for the principal and school leaders, while the back rows were for faculty and student representatives. It was already impressive for ordinary students to watch from the audience. Don't forget, I'm one of the performers. Every performer gets a few tickets, and I was given 4. You can take your roommates with you. Without waiting for his response, she pressed the tickets into his hand. I have breakfast plans with my roommates, I'll head off now. Bye. With a bright smile, she waved and walked away. Feng held the tickets until she was completely out of sight before turning to leave. Now that he had the tickets, they wouldn't need to wait in line. However, how would he explain their origin to Xiao Kai and the others? He couldn't just say he found them, they wouldn't believe that. While pondering how to explain, Feng made his way upstairs. Unbeknownst to him, several freshmen passing by who were buying breakfast stopped in their tracks, staring at Su Liuli and Feng talking softly. Forget recognizing them, even just Su Liuli's looks and aura were enough to stun them. Who was that senior just now? She looks so familiar. Isn't she the school beauty, Su Liuli? Su Liuli. The senior from the 4th year. No way. There's no way Su Liuli would come here, and judging by how they were acting, they clearly looked like. Their conversation trailed off suddenly, and they exchanged glances, realizing from their interaction that it was likely they were dating. The school beauty of Rejuvenation University actually had a boyfriend. If this got out, it would surely cause a stir. Chapter 7, The Pinnacle of Investment Competitions. Returning to the dormitory, Xiao Kai and the others were still sound asleep. Feng stuffed the 4 tickets into the wardrobe and sat down in a chair. At this time, it was unrealistic to go back to sleep. With nothing to do, he suddenly thought of the game development team at Magic City University. Since he had some free time in the morning, he could definitely make a trip to Magic City University. Without hesitation, he got up and left the dormitory, strolling towards the campus exit. He bought a pancake as breakfast, and after eating, he took a taxi to Magic City University. Revitalization University was only about 10 kilometers from Magic City University, but early in the morning, the traffic was quite congested. The 10-minute journey took him over half an hour to reach the school gate. After paying the fare, he strode into Magic City University. Feng was relatively familiar with Magic City University, as he often came here to wander around due to its proximity to Revitalization University. Professor Wu. I should go find him first. After pondering for a moment, he decided to look for Professor Wu. Professor Wu was a professor in the computer science department of Magic City University, and he had started the research on the game Pinnacle competition with his students. However, he didn't know at what stage the game's development was. He walked quickly to the teaching building, asking several students along their way until he finally found the computer classroom where Professor Wu was. When Feng arrived, Professor Wu was sorting through related data at the computer. In the large computer classroom, only Professor Wu was present. Hearing a knock at the door, he pushed up his thick black reading glasses and said, "Come in." "Hello, Professor Wu." Feng greeted him humbly as he approached. What can I do for you, student?" Rising, Professor Wu looked kindly at Feng, clearly assuming he was a student from Magic City University. "Professor, I wanted to discuss something with you. Do you have some time?" Speaking humbly and politely, Feng showed respect for Professor Wu, whether from his past life or this one. Upon hearing this, Professor Wu smiled immediately. "Of course I have time. It's important for students and teachers to have discussions. Come, please sit here. I wonder what you want to discuss." Putting away their files in front of him, the professor invited Feng to sit down. "Professor, to be honest, I want to know if you are leading a student team in the development of a game called Pinnacle Competition." Knowing that Professor Wu's time was valuable, Feng got straight to the point. "Pinnacle Competition? Yes, that's right, there is indeed such a game. The students have great ideas, but they lack technical support. I only occasionally provide some technical assistance." "Why?" Are you here to join this team? The team members are chosen by the students themselves. If you want to join, I can help you inquire. No, Professor, you misunderstood. I'm not a student from the Computer Science Department at Magic City University. I'm a student from the Finance Department at Revitalization University. I came here to discuss investing in the game Pinnacle Competition. Jiu Feng spoke seriously, leaving Professor Wu momentarily stunned, wondering if he was too old or if there was something wrong with his hearing. Student, did you just say you want to invest in Pinnacle Competition? I didn't mishear, did I? Patiently, he continued to verify with Jiu Feng. You didn't mishear. I do want to invest in this game. As far as I know, although Magic City University has a project incubation center, the support it offers is merely for equipment and space. The funding you apply for will not be nearly enough to support the development of this game. I'm a finance student and have some understanding of the gaming field. Putting everything else aside, a large-scale game like Pinnacle Competition definitely requires the construction of a large-scale server. The subsidies from Magic City University are far from enough. Jiu Feng explained calmly, while Professor Wu beside him looked astonished. He was not only surprised that Jiu Feng wanted to invest in Pinnacle Competition, but also impressed by the young man's demeanor and articulate speech. At Jiu Feng's age, to have such eloquence and presence was truly remarkable. Student, you're right. Without seeking external investment, Pinnacle Competition won't even have a chance for testing. But do you know how much it costs to fully fund this game? Just for the testing phase, it requires at least $1 million. If we wait until the game launches, the required funding might reach tens of millions. And that's just for the launch. Promotion costs are additional. Professor Wu stood up from his seat, patted Jiu Feng on the shoulder, not because he didn't believe him, but because the investment amount was simply too large. If a publicly listed company came to discuss this with him, there might be some credibility. Professor Wu's attitude was something Jiu Feng had anticipated. With a slight smile, he stood up as well. Professor, you don't need to worry about the funding. As long as Pinnacle Competition is willing to accept my investment, a few million, even tens of millions, is not a problem for me. Would this work? I'll leave you my contact number. You can discuss it with everyone and give me a response in a week. This was something Professor Wu could decide on his own. Jiu Feng said this not only to give Professor Wu some time but also to give himself some time. He had already made bold claims, but right now, he only had a little over $1 million. As Professor Wu said, investing in Pinnacle Competition wouldn't sustain for long. Considering Jiu Feng's words, Professor Wu pondered for a while. Finally, he nodded in agreement. All right. I'll talk to the students and give you an answer in a week. Thank you, Professor. Jiu Feng bowed slightly to Professor Wu and chatted briefly with him before exiting their computer classroom. As the clock struck 9 in the morning, Jiu Feng strolled leisurely around the Magic City University campus. Putting aside promotion, the funding needed to get Pinnacle Competition online was nearly 10 million. With just $1 million, turning it into 10 million in just a week was not an easy task. Stocks, funds too short on time, no good. He clearly remembered a few stocks that would soar, but they certainly weren't in this time frame. They needed to be held for the long term. Thinking it over, an idea suddenly struck him. Virtual digital currency Bitcoin. He remembered that on the third day after the semester started, Bitcoin experienced a surge, increasing by over 10%. A 10% increase wouldn't be nearly enough if he bought in the local currency, so he had to use contract leverage. If he leveraged 100 times, with a 10% increase in Bitcoin, he would earn exactly 10 million. However, with high leverage, there was a risk of liquidation if he wasn't careful. Based on his understanding of the cryptocurrency market, there would always be slight declines before each major surge, as if gathering momentum. For safety, it was best to place the order tomorrow. He hailed a taxi and returned to Revitalization University. On their way back to school, Jiu Feng received a call from Jiang Yu, who immediately asked where he had gone so early in the morning. After briefly explaining to Jiang Yu, they agreed to meet at the restaurant. Upon returning to school, Jiu Feng rushed over, and from a distance, he saw Jiang Yu and the others standing in front of the restaurant. Chapter 8, Jiu Feng, I love you. As Jiu Feng spotted the three of them, they noticed him at the same moment. Jiu Feng, over here. Jiang Yu was the most enthusiastic, waving vigorously as soon as she saw him from a distance. With a burst of energy, he quickly approached the trio. Ji Feng, where have you been so early? Were you out on a date? As he got closer, before Ji Feng could catch his breath, Xiao Kai squinted with a mischievous grin. No. Who do you know that goes out on a date this early in the morning? A date is best when it's dark and windy at night. No date, huh? Then what were you doing this morning? Don't tell me you went for a morning run at the playground. We just passed the playground and didn't see you there. Jiangyu also looked puzzled. If he hadn't been on a date or jogging, where had he spent the whole morning? Seeing their curiosity, Ji Feng patiently explained, I went to Modu University. I have a few classmates there, so I went to check on them. Alright, it's almost noon, should we have breakfast or lunch? Having taken some time on the way, it was close to 10 o'clock, and there was no breakfast left to eat. The cafeteria has food, we can just grab something. Today is the first time our dorm is eating together, I'll treat you guys to whatever you want. Xiao Kai said, slapping his chest with a hearty tone. When they heard Xiao Kai was treating, Ji Feng and the others exchanged glances, already making plans in their minds. At this time, anything will do. I'll have crab casserole rice. Ji Feng, Tai Nyo, what about you two? Jiangyu grinned, looking at Ji Feng and Zhang Tainyo. They quickly understood her gaze, the same, we also want to try the crab casserole rice from the school cafeteria. Xiao Kai, sorry for making you spend. It's just a meal, I can afford it. Let us go, crab casserole it is. With a wave of his hand, he led the way into the cafeteria, and Ji Feng and the others followed closely behind. The crab casserole rice counter was in the center of the cafeteria, and compared to other counters, there were hardly any customers here, perhaps due to the time itself, there weren't many students eating. Seeing them approach, the bored guy inside playing on his phone immediately got up to serve them. Hello, would you like some crab casserole rice? Yes. We'll have 4 servings of crab casserole rice. Xiao Kai was generous, raising 4 fingers at the guy selling the food. Sure. Just a moment, it will be ready soon. The guy worked quickly, and within 2 or 3 minutes, all 4 servings were ready. We're giving each of you an egg if you enjoy it, come back next time. Thank you. Each got a serving of crab casserole rice, along with an extra egg. How much is it? 200 in total. What? 200. As Xiao Kai took out his wallet and heard the guy say the total, he was clearly taken aback. He widened his eyes and glanced at the crab casserole rice in Ji Feng and the others' hands, feeling his heart bleed. Just for a simple lunch, 200 was gone like that. Here, Tilder. Holding back his pain, he took out 200 yuan and handed it to the guy, finally understanding why there weren't many customers at the crab casserole counter. $50 for a meal in the campus was definitely on the extravagant side. You 3 teamed up to rip me off. How shameless. Woo woo woo, Tilder. Having spent the money, his heart continued to ache. 200 yuan could have covered a dozen overnight sessions at the school's internet cafe. He, Kai, are you feeling the pinch? Jiangyu laughed without a care, and Xiao Kai rolled his eyes, of course. Wouldn't you feel it too? Yes, feeling it, absolutely feeling it. How about this? To ease your pain, after the show tonight, I'll treat you to dinner. We'll go to a restaurant outside, I promise you'll enjoy it. Will you still feel the pinch then? Well, to be honest, it doesn't seem that painful anymore. Har. Xiao Kai patted his chest, laughing heartily. Seeing this, Zhang Tainyu immediately remarked, Kai, were you a face changer in your past life? You changed your mood so quickly. Jiangyu, won't it be too late to eat after the show? Shouldn't we go earlier? Ji Feng said softly, sitting down with his crab casserole. Hearing this, Jiangyu shook her head. Did you forget we need to secure our seats? If we wait until after dinner to secure seats, the good spots will be gone. Right, Jiangyu is right, securing seats is more important. It's no problem to eat later. Compared to watching the grand welcome party, dinner felt less significant to them. Ahum Tilder. After swallowing his rice, Ji Feng cleared his throat and said slowly, actually, we don't need to go that early to secure seats. Ji Feng, what are you getting at? Nothing much, I got a few seat tickets this morning. With the tickets tonight, we can sit in the first few rows to watch the show, so we don't need to secure seats. Poof. After Ji Feng finished speaking, Xiao Kai couldn't hold back the rice in his mouth spewed out, hitting Zhang Tainyo all over. Whoa! Kai, what did you do? Hastily getting up, he grabbed a napkin to wipe the rice off himself. Xiao Kai also looked apologetic as he joined Zhang Tainyo in cleaning up. After they settled down again, they looked at Ji Feng, seat tickets. Ji Feng, are you serious? Those front rows are reserved for school leaders and outstanding students. Where did you get the tickets? Oh, you're not connected to the school leaders, are you? After Xiao Kai's remark, Jiangyu and Zhang Tainyo turned to him with suspicion. Kai, your thinking is really unique. These tickets are from a friend of mine, they have nothing to do with the school leaders. Overall, just to sum it up, we don't need to line up this afternoon, we have tickets. After confidently stating this, Ji Feng buried his head back into his food. Seeing this, the other three didn't press further and started eating heartily. After lunch, as soon as they returned to the dorm, Ji Feng took out the seat tickets given by Su Liuli from the wardrobe. They're really a tickets. Ji Feng, I love you. Har har har. This is great, we don't have to line up anymore. Ji Feng kept one ticket for himself, while the remaining three were just right for Jiangyu and the others. With tickets, what else there to worry about? This afternoon, let us go online. Jiangyu, let me know when we go out for dinner. I'm off. Carefully tucking the ticket into his pocket, Xiao Kai left the dorm, pretending to leave. Wait, I'll go with you. Hearing that Xiao Kai was going online, Jiangyu immediately declared she would follow him. With the two of them heading out to the internet cafe, only Zhang Tainyo and Ji Feng were left in the dorm. Ji Feng, I'm going to play basketball. Do you want to come with me? Being alone in the dorm was pretty boring, it was better to join him for some basketball. Sure, let us go. We'll go together. Having played basketball often in high school, he wasn't too bad at it, a casual game would be fine. The entire afternoon was spent running on the basketball court for nearly 4 hours. By 5 o'clock, Ji Feng received a call from Jiangyu, asking the two of them to return to the dorm to change clothes and prepare to go out for dinner. It's almost time, let us head back. Okay. After making the final shot, he grabbed a water bottle, and the two walked side by side back to the dorm. When they returned, Jiangyu and Xiao Kai were already ready, they had changed into new outfits and looked quite spirited. You two better hurry up and change after dinner, we still have to go to the show. While fixing his hair in front of the mirror, Xiao Kai urged Ji Feng and Zhang Tainyo to hurry. After taking a quick shower and changing clothes, it took them less than 15 minutes, a remarkably swift pace. At 5:30, the four of them set off from the dorm. They found a small restaurant nearby outside the school, casually ordered a few dishes, and began to feast heartily. Chapter 9, The School Bell Sings, the Department Bell Dances. After dinner, which took about 20 minutes, Ji Feng and the others ran to the playground, arriving just 10 minutes before the welcome party started. Upon reaching the playground entrance, the four of them stopped in their tracks. There are so many people. They had expected a large turnout, but not to this extent. The vast lawn in the distance was almost filled with students. Not only was the lawn packed, but the best seats for the audience in the distance were also completely occupied. If it weren't for the small chairs, it wouldn't have been surprising to see two people sharing a seat. Let us go, we're getting in. Each of them held a seat ticket as they followed Ji Feng into the playground. The lawn and the audience area were already overcrowded, but the section closest to the stage seemed somewhat empty. A quick glance revealed that there were about 100 chairs arranged, in 5 rows with 20 chairs each. Except for the first 10 seats reserved for school leaders, the rest were all for students. The seat tickets in Ji Feng's hands were for the 3rd row, quite close to the front. When they reached the seating area, before they could find their spots, a teacher in a Zhongshan suit quickly approached them. Students, this is a designated area. If you want to watch the welcome program, please move to the audience seats or the back lawn. His attitude was humble, and his tone very polite. Hello, teacher. We have seat tickets. We just haven't found our seats yet. In front of the male teacher, Ji Feng and his friends promptly showed their already prepared seat tickets. Upon hearing that they had tickets, the male teacher looked a bit surprised, but still reached out to take the tickets. After checking them carefully and confirming there were no issues, he personally led Ji Feng and his friends to their designated seats. Here are your seats. The welcome party is about to start, so please take your seats quickly. Okay, thank you, teacher. They all thanked the teacher in unison and took their seats. This is awesome. Gu Feng, this position is unbeatable. Looking up at the distant stage, the view from this position was simply perfect. Wow, I never dreamed I'd get to sit here. Gu Feng, can you tell me who gave you these seat tickets? That's incredible. 3 rows from the front, and we have 4 tickets. Jiang Yu, Xiao Kai, and Zhang Tianyu were all excited from the moment they sat down, which was understandable, as the students around them were all in the audience. Those who arrived later were standing on the lawn to watch. How could they not be thrilled to have scored such great seats? Respected school leaders, dear students. The 121st welcome party is about to begin. The school has prepared small stools for students standing. Please hurry to the back of the stage to collect them. Perhaps considering that standing to watch the program would be too tiring, the school was very thoughtful in providing stools for everyone. Upon hearing the hostess' words, Gu Feng couldn't help but click his tongue. In his previous life, when he attended the welcome party, he always brought his own stool. He hadn't expected the school to be so generous this time. The welcome party was originally scheduled to start at 6, but given this pace, it might be delayed by about half an hour. Once everyone had collected their stools, there were hardly any students left standing on the playground. Respected leaders, dear students, good evening. I'm your host. On stage, the 4 hosts introduced themselves in turn and then launched into a lengthy introduction. According to the rules, after the hosts, the principal would be the first to take the stage to speak. The principal of Fuxing University, Lin Guifeng, is considered a legendary figure in the education sector. Having previously worked in national education units, she was later appointed as the principal of Fuxing University, where she had served for over a decade. Originally, Fuxing University wasn't regarded as a prestigious school in the Magic City. But after more than 10 years of hard work, Principal Lin had managed to elevate Fuxing University to the same level as Magic City University. It remains to be seen whether Fuxing University can eventually surpass Magic City University to become the best university in the city. How many winters have passed, so many feelings well up. A spring returns, countless joys that are hard to suppress. We reminisce, remembering how in the past years, we burned with passion for hope and achieved our dreams through hard work. Next, let us welcome Principal Lin Guifeng to the stage to give a speech. As their host spoke, thunderous applause erupted across the playground. Dressed in a grey professional outfit with her hair neatly pinned up, she appeared to be in her 50s, exuding the aura of a strong woman. Students, the first thing I want to ask you as I come to the stage is: would you prefer to listen to me ramble on, or do you want to see the exciting performances of the welcome party? Instead of launching straight into her speech, she posed a question to the audience. Upon hearing Principal Lin's words, the playground fell silent. After a few seconds, someone shouted, "We want to see the exciting performances." Har har har. This loud shout sparked laughter throughout the crowd. Which student was that? Please come to my office later. With a smile on her face, Principal Lin scanned the audience and continued, "Just kidding. I'll keep it brief. As your principal, I welcome you all to Fuxing University. If you need anything in the future, feel free to come to my office. Alright, let us get ready for the performances to begin." With just a couple of simple sentences, she handed the microphone back to their hosts. Wow, our principal is so unique. I thought she would talk for at least 10 minutes. I thought she would give a long speech too. I didn't expect just 2 sentences and she was off the stage in under 3 minutes. Jiang Yu and Xiao Kai murmured, while Zhang Tianyu also looked surprised. Not just them, but the new students in the entire playground probably shared the same thoughts. After Principal Lin left the stage, the host quickly announced that the program had officially begun, starting with the Dance Academy's performance. Next, let us welcome the Dance Academy to perform a classical court dance. Lead dancer Ning Yuyu, performers, Li Li, Wang Shudong. Accompaniment, Guqin Peace, High Mountain and Flowing Water. Performed by Music Academy S. Wang Tai Tai. As their host finished speaking, a group of senior sisters from the Dance Academy gathered in the center of the stage. Behind them, Wang Tai Tai from the Music Academy elegantly sat down in a formal dress. Wang Tai Tai, she's a senior. Her name is really strong, just like mine. Sitting next to Gu Feng, Zhang Tianyu scratched his head. He wasn't the only one. Many people instinctively thought Wang Tai Tai was a boy, only to find out she was a beautiful senior. As the department belle of the dance academy, Ning Yuyu took the lead, and with the accompaniment starting, she and her fellow seniors began to dance gracefully, instantly captivating the audience's attention. A few minutes later, as the program came to a close, the students, lost in the beautiful dance, finally snapped back to reality. Thunderous applause erupted across the playground. Ning Yuyu is indeed the belle of the dance academy. Her figure is simply better than that of a professional model. The dance was so beautiful, but why was it so short? Some students in the audience whispered as they applauded. Upon hearing this, someone nearby immediately responded, "This is just the beginning, the exciting performances are still to come." For the last performance, Ning Yuyu will come back on stage. Do you know who is singing? It's our Fuxing University belle, Su Liuli. I checked out the dancers accompanying Su. It's true what they say, don't judge a book by its cover. The first boy to speak rattled off a string of names, causing everyone around to lean in closer to hear. Besides Ning Yuyu, there are also Lan Feier, Bai Yaxin, Dong Qingxue, and Xie Yang. Those familiar with the campus forums of Fuxing University would recognize that these names belong to the most famous belles of their respective departments. Ning Yuyu was the belle of the dance academy. Lan Feier was the belle of the finance academy. Bai Yaxin was the belle of the computer science academy. Dong Qingxue was the belle of the foreign languages academy. Xie Yang was the belle of the business administration academy. In addition to these 5, there were also 7 others from the remaining departments' belles. From the selection of performers, it was clear the school intended to give this year's freshmen the best welcome experience. My God! So many seniors, how are we supposed to survive this? Come on, you better keep your eyes peeled. Such a scene isn't something you see every day. With the first program wrapped up, the following performances included crosstalk, skits, opera, and the most unexpected acrobatic acts. This acrobatic performance is amazing. When I first saw it on the program list, I thought it would just be a filler, but it turned out to be real. Xiao Kai was clapping enthusiastically while whispering to Jiang Yu. What's the next program? It seems to be a talk show. After the talk show, the most exciting performance is about to start. Senior Su Liuli and all the belles will be on stage. I remember the program list said the performance would last half an hour. I wonder what that's all about. Xiao Kai was puzzled. He had carefully studied the program list, and it indeed indicated the performance duration. However, the previous programs were only a few minutes long, with the longest lasting just over 10 minutes, while the final singing and dancing program was listed as half an hour to 50 minutes. What could the situation be? Chapter 10, The Dance of Rainbow Skirts and Feathered Garments. Who cares about the situation? The program is arranged this way for a reason. Besides, it's senior Su performing with the belles from each academy dancing. Isn't a longer performance better? Jiang Yu smacked his lips, feeling that even half an hour was too short. He'd gladly accept an hour or 2 if possible. Couldn't he agree more? Har har har. Xiao Kai and Jiang Yu murmured as the talk show on stage began. Although the seniors performed well, everyone's interest was clearly not on this segment. They were all eagerly anticipating the final act. After a long wait, the talk show finally wrapped up, and the host returned to the stage. Students, next up is the final performance of the welcome party. For those who've seen the program, you know the last act is the highlight. Do you want to see it? The female host smiled as she asked the audience. Yes. We want to see it. Let us get started. With that question, the audience erupted in cheers. Feeling the enthusiasm, the hosts exchanged glances, and the one who had just spoken continued. Next, we present the performance of the Dance of Rainbow Skirts and Feathered Garments. As one of the top 10 representative classical dance pieces, it not only expresses reverence for the fairies but also showcases the prosperity and grandeur of court music and dance. Performed by Su Liuli from the Music Academy. Dancers, Ning Yuyu from the Dance Academy, Lan Feier from the Finance Academy, Bai Yaxin from the Computer Science Academy, Dong Qingxue from the Foreign Languages Academy. The host announced a total of 13 names, any one of whom could cause a stir at Fuxing University. As the music began, the 4 hosts exited the stage. It's starting. All eyes focused on the stage as Ning Yuyu and the other sisters in Ruchuan outfits took center stage. With pure instrumental music, they took their positions, and the spotlight finally settled on Su Liuli in a red dress. With her tall figure, elegantly styled hair, and the stunning red gown, she looked breathtakingly beautiful. This. A fairy. So pretty. Only seniors who can pull off this dress it wouldn't suit anyone else. Countless whispers filled the audience. Though Ning Yu and her peers were all belles of their academies, they paled in comparison to Su Liuli in that red dress. Standing center stage, Su Liuli scanned the audience, her gaze eventually landing on Feng. Upon seeing him, a sweet smile unconsciously graced her lips. Whoa! Was that just my imagination? Jiangyu, did you see that? It looks like Senior Su is smiling at us. Xiao Kai immediately noticed Su Liuli's unusual behavior as he focused on the stage. In fact, it wasn't he just Xiao Kai, Jiangyu, Zhang Tianyu, and Feng all saw it clearly. You're not imagining it, Senior Su really is looking at us. How strange. Jiangyu shook his head, unsure of the reason. As the music shifted, Ning Yu, Lan Feier, and the others began to dance gracefully. Finding the rhythm, Su Liuli picked up the microphone. I once served at the royal banquet, accompanying the inner court in Zhaoyang. Thousands of songs and dances are countless, but I love the rainbow skirt dance the most. Dancing during the cold food festival in spring's gentle breeze, before the fragrant table under the jade railing. As the beautiful song resonated, the dancers gradually changed positions, moving with grace and elegance, exuding a celestial aura with every gesture. As a top student from the music academy, Su Liuli's voice was captivating, melodious and enchanting, pulling everyone into a trance. The dancer at the table has a face like jade, not wearing the mundane clothes of this world. Her rainbow skirts and bright garb sway with the crown, adorned with shiny jewels. Graceful and delicate, as if unburdened by silk and satin, listen to the music as it stops and resumes. This is so beautiful to listen to, and watch this dance of rainbow skirts and feathered garments is truly extraordinary. While watching the stage, Jiangyu murmured, unable to tear his eyes away. The entire playground had their eyes glued to the stage, each person focused, afraid to blink and miss this amazing performance. Even though Feng had been reborn 5 years ago, hearing Su Liuli sing this piece again was still as shocking as ever. This piece was a contemporary court dance, hinting at the heights ancient royal dances could reach. Just as you said, there is truth in it. Do try to listen to my words calmly. If you seek national beauty to share, fear not that it may be lost to the world. Beauty and plainness stand apart, largely dependent on human promotion. As the last few lines finished, the accompaniment abruptly stopped, and the performers gathered back together, preparing to take their bows. Wonderful. Beautiful. Amazing. Senior Su is stunning. Senior Su is gorgeous. Campus bell. Campus bell. Campus bell. Encore. 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 As the performance concluded, the entire playground erupted in cheers, distant calls echoing in waves. From the perspective of the program alone, it was even more thrilling than a large concert. Standing together, Su Liuli and the others bowed in thanks to everyone and began to leave the stage. At the same time, the 4 hosts returned to the center stage. Hey! Didn't the program say the performance would last half an hour to 50 minutes? Why did it end so quickly? It's only been 10 minutes. Xiao Kai clapped, still mumbling to himself. The program clearly stated a duration of half an hour to 50 minutes, and it had barely been 10 minutes. Students, was that performance exciting? I see many of you look like you want more. Would you like to see the seniors perform again? The hosts asked the audience with a gentle smile. Yes. Yes. It seems the students are quite enthusiastic. Have you all noticed that the announced program for the dance of rainbow skirts and feathered garments had a performance time of half an hour to 50 minutes? I can now tell you that today's welcome party has a hidden program. What? Another hidden program? Just as I thought, it can't end this easily. Originally confused, Xiao Kai perked up instantly upon hearing about the hidden program, feeling invigorated again. A hidden program as the grand finale surely wouldn't be subpar. There are 3 options for the hidden program. Everyone can now open their phones and go to the school's official forum, where there is a voting window created by students from the Computer Science Academy. There are a total of 3 hidden programs. Vote for your favorite, and the one with the most votes will be performed. As their host spoke from the center stage, almost everyone pulled out their phones at once. Of course, Feng was no exception. In his memory, there had been no mention of a hidden program 5 years ago. Perhaps due to his rebirth, many things had changed, to varying degrees. Chapter 11, Both Men and Women Like. I opened my phone and entered the forum, only then did I discover 3 hidden programs. One was a dance from the dance academy, and the lead dancer was naturally Ning Yuyu. The other one is Guzheng Appreciation, performed by Wang Taitai from the Conservatory of Music. There is one last one, sung by Su Liuli, and the song is random. As a boyfriend, Jiu Feng is ready to cast his vote for Su Liuli. Jiu Feng, have you voted? Vote for senior sister Su. Listen to me. Vote for senior sister Su. Jiang Yu, Xiao Kai, and Zhang Tianyu all voted for Su Liuli, and finally did not forget to pull Jiu Feng to vote together. Good. This was his original intention. Even if Jiang Yu and others didn't say it, he would vote for Su Liuli. The moment you click the vote, the voting ratio will be displayed. Senior sister Su alone received 98% of the votes. Oh my god. Sure enough, the eyes of the masses are sharp. After seeing that Su Liuli got 98% of the votes, Jiu Feng couldn't help but be stunned. 98% of the votes means that 98% of the students watching in the entire playground voted for Su Liuli. As a school belle, Su Liuli is really liked by both men and women. There is still 1 minute left before the voting ends, so hurry up. Time passed slowly, and the host on the stage reminded people that there was still 1 minute left before the voting ended. In the blink of an eye, a minute passed. Okay, the voting is over. Let's see which hidden show will be performed on stage in the end. The 4 hosts on the stage also took out their mobile phones one after another and saw the vote rates of the 3 programs in the forum, which was not beyond anyone's expectations. At the same time, behind the stage, Su Liuli, who had changed into a black evening dress, had a look of helplessness on her beautiful face. Liuli, it's just as we expected, it's you. He. That's good. We can finally relax. In front of Su Liuli, Ning Yuyu stretched lazily. Several senior schoolmates from the dance academy standing next to her, including the beauties from various colleges, were all very happy. Yuyu, you did it on purpose. You want me to suffer for you. Su Liuli blinked her beautiful eyes and pretended to be angry. Normally, the last program is a program that the student union organizers request the dance academy to present, but Ning Yuyu and her group suggested making it an interesting process. In order to create a good atmosphere, 3 programs were produced for everyone to vote. Little did they know that the influence of the school beauty Su Liuli was so great that as soon as she came on stage, she directly squeezed out the dance that was originally supposed to be performed by the dance academy. Liuli, it's mainly because you're too charming. None of us are better than you. Tai, don't you think so? While Ning Yuyu was speaking, she did not forget to wink at Wang Tai, who was smiling happily beside her. Anyway, I knew from the beginning that I would not be chosen. As for Liuli, she is really charming. A girl like me can't stand seeing her. Not to mention the male compatriots. Wang Tai explained cheerfully that what she said was indeed what was in her heart. All right Liuli, hurry up and get ready to go on stage. Don't forget, the songs are random. He. Yes, let's go to the front stage and applaud you. Come on, Senior Su. A few girls were chattering, and the host on the stage had already begun announcing the performers. Su Liuli had no choice but to smile bitterly across her fair and flawless face. She could only take lotus steps and return to the stage. After changing into a black evening dress, her temperament changed drastically. The moment they stood on the stage, everyone couldn't help but hold their breath. Is this still Senior Sister Su? It's completely different from just now. Wow, if I hadn't seen her face, I would have thought she was replaced by a cool and beautiful lady. That's right, this temperament is completely different from before. As Su Liuli stepped onto the stage again, the lighting team instantly gathered all the spotlights together. Senior Su, the songs are random. I wonder what song you are going to sing for everyone. The host came to Su Liuli and asked softly with the microphone in hand. This is a question that not only the host wants to know, but everyone present wants to know. I can sing anything. Are there any songs that you guys would like to hear? She went on stage suddenly without any preparation in advance and she really didn't know what song to sing. I want to hear On the Moon. I want to hear Rice Fragrance. I want to listen to Beethoven Concerto. It would have been fine if Su Liuli didn't ask, but as soon as she asked, the whole audience suddenly became a mess, and people said almost all kinds of things, and some students even shouted the hero song directly. It's rare that the students are so enthusiastic. How about this, let Senior Sister Su draw lots to decide. I just heard some classmates shout out the song titles. We wrote the song titles on a piece of paper and asked senior sister Su to draw lots. Sing whichever one you draw. In the end, the host had a solution. He found a piece of paper, wrote the titles of 6 songs, and folded them into balls of the same size for Su Liuli to choose from. She stretched out her delicate hand and picked up one of the paper balls at random. When he opened the paper ball, he saw a few big words written on it, "A beautiful myth." What I drew was a beautiful myth. This song is good, but it's a duet between a man and a woman. Isn't that inappropriate? That's easy, senior sister Su. You can invite a boy from the audience to come on stage and sing with you. This. Faced with the method proposed by their host, Su Liuli was obviously hesitant. Holding the microphone in his hand, his eyes inadvertently swept over Feng, who was sitting in the 3rd row. He was stunned at first, and then seemed to think of something. Okay, I'll choose one. He held the microphone tightly in front of him with both hands and glanced around carefully. Jiangyu senior sister Su is looking for boys to sing with. Can you choose me? Too nervous. Xiao Kai held Jiangyu's arms tightly with both hands and stared at the stage with a nervous face. Jiangyu had almost the same expression as Xiao Kai, staring blankly at the direction of the stage. On the contrary, Feng and Zhang Tianyu seemed very calm, unlike most people around them. Tainyo, why do you seem so nonchalant? Don't you want to go on stage? Feng was a little doubtful and asked curiously. Yes. I guess everyone on this playground doesn't want to. What about you? I can't sing at all. I've never even heard of the songs you're all so familiar with. How can I go on stage? Well. Chapter 12. Feng, why don't you come up quickly? With a light sigh, Zhang Tianyu looked very annoyed. If he had known this would happen, he would have watched more TV dramas and listened to more music on weekdays. After Zhang Tianyu explained it this way, Feng couldn't do it anymore. He thought the other party didn't care, but he didn't expect that his strength didn't allow it. Su Liuli looked around several times, and finally, her gaze naturally fell in the direction where Feng was sitting. Classmate, I wonder if I can invite you to sing with me tilde. There was a sweet smile on her face, almost exactly the same as she was when she was eating yesterday. Just as Feng was about to stand up, the boy sitting behind him suddenly stood up from his chair. In front of everyone, he pretended to walk onto the stage. This scene not only shocked everyone, but even Su Liuli on the stage looked nervous. Fuck. Wait a minute, brother. Senior Su clearly invited him, why are you going? Xiao Kai also had an impatient temper. Seeing that the other party was about to walk onto the stage without looking back, he stood up and stopped him. Didn't I invite you? The boy pointed at himself, looking quite confused. Because the distance between them was so close, he naturally thought that Su Liuli was referring to him. My classmate, you may have misunderstood. I invited him. Feng, why don't you come up quickly? Maybe it was because she was too anxious. Holding the microphone, Su Liuli directly called Feng's name with a complaining tone, giving the impression of a couple acting coquettishly. Only after the 2 words, Feng, came out of his mouth did Su Liuli react. Her cheeks flushed instantly and she stood there in a daze, forgetting what to say for a moment. Feng himself was also stunned, but he quickly reacted, smiled calmly, and immediately stood up and walked towards the stage. Su Liuli's performance immediately caused most of the students on the playground to whisper. Senior Su actually knows him. Who is this person? Why is the freshman in that position? Have no idea. It can't be that he is really senior sister Su's boyfriend. My goddess. Oh my god. In the distance, the audience seats. Liuli, this girl, actually invited her boyfriend from last time. It seems that this girl is in love. Wang Mani got an apple from somewhere, took a bite, and muttered as she ate. Dong Zhizhi, who was standing next to her, heard what was said, glanced at Wang Mani next to her, and the next second, she snatched the apple and took a big bite. Liuli didn't Liuli say that she had given the phone number to someone else? I guess they are definitely together. She was just too embarrassed to tell us. Jia. Give me back my apple. I'm so pissed off. Dong Zhizhi was still eating hastily, while Wang Mani next to her was so angry that her face turned green. She worked so hard to bring an apple, but it was snatched away after she had just taken a bite. Okay, Zhizhi, give it back to Mani quickly, she's about to eat me. After Liu Xiaoyu finished speaking, Dongjuju returned the apple to Wang Mani. Last time you stole my banana, this time I'll steal your apple, Mani, we're even now. Next time, no one is allowed to snatch it. Jia, you really hold a grudge. As expected, you are a scheming woman. After getting the apple back, Wang Mani looked towards the stage and continued to eat it in small bites. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Feng slowly walked onto the stage. Seeing this, the host next to him came up with a microphone in time. Liuli, my singing is not very good, and I might be out of tune. Holding the microphone in his hand, he did not put it to his mouth, but just stood there and whispered to Su Liuli. It's okay, as long as it's not too outrageous. You're not nervous, are you? Su Liuli took lotus steps and came in front of Feng, and asked softly with her head tilted seriously. No, I don't think so. I had never been on a stage, let alone singing on it. Even with the experience in my previous life, I couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Hey, what are Feng and senior sister Su whispering about up there? We can't hear anything. That's right, I can't hear anything, but judging from the looks of the two of them, they seem to know each other. Jiangyu was stunned when he heard this. You're talking nonsense, of course I know him. Didn't you hear just now that senior sister Su called Feng by his name? Will someone who doesn't know you know your name? Feng actually knows senior sister Su. Fuck, this kid is really good at hiding. No, I must torture him thoroughly tonight. Xiaokai muttered softly, and Jiangyu and Zhang Tianyu beside him looked at each other and reached a consensus. After a few whispered words, the accompaniment began to sound on the stage. Perhaps because she was worried that he would be nervous, Su Liuli held the microphone and kept her eyes on him. When their eyes met, she would blink slightly and deliberately look playful. The familiar face of the person in my dream, you are the tenderness that I am waiting for, even if my tears drown the world, I will not let go. Originally, the first part was supposed to be a male voice, but Su Liuli was worried that Feng wouldn't be able to handle it alone, so she decisively changed it to a chorus. Listening through the earphones, the effect feels pretty good. After the first section was over, Feng gradually adapted to the new environment. The familiar feeling between you and me, love is about to awaken. Love is the only eternal myth in the vicissitudes of life. The ups and downs of the tides will never destroy the promise of true love. As I sang, I don't know why, maybe it's the song itself, but it gave me a feeling of sadness and loneliness. Especially Su Liuli's singing voice lingered in everyone's ears. The feeling of waiting for love and thinking about it all the time made people cry. Before I knew it, the song was over. After completing the task, Feng handed the microphone back to their host. His singing was mediocre. After all, he was not a professional, so it was pretty good that he could sing like this. Thank you to senior sister Su and student Jiu for your wonderful performance. The welcome party is coming to an end. I hope that students will have smooth sailing in their future study and life. Best wishes to everyone. The four hosts took their bows together, and the grand welcome party came to an end. After the welcome party ended, a huge crowd began to flow towards the exit of the playground. With so many people, they wouldn't be able to get out even if they lined up for a while. Feng returned to his seat and simply waited quietly with Xiaokai and the other three. It won't be too late for them to set off when most of the people have left. Feng, are you hiding something from us? You actually know senior sister Su. And you kept it a secret from us, that's really mean. Xiaokai couldn't hold back his temper. He complained that Feng was not considerate enough, but his face showed a curious expression. In his opinion, if Feng really had some relationship with senior sister Su, it would bring honor to the entire dormitory. When the time comes, he could go out and say that his roommate was the boyfriend of the school belle. It's so impressive. Feng wanted to explain, but unexpectedly a gorgeous figure walked straight towards them. Chapter 13 I didn't bring my ID card. Feng. Are you free tonight? A clear and familiar voice sounded, and Xiaokai and the others turned around at the same time. When they saw Su Liuli standing there, all three of them opened their mouths wide with a look of shock. Senior Su. Hello, senior. Hello, senior. The three people who reacted greeted Su Liuli in unison. Hello. In response to the greetings from the three people, Su Liuli nodded politely. These three people are Feng's roommates, so he must give them due face. And looking at the looks of them, it's really quite amusing. Well, wait here for a while. I'll go to the locker room to change. She was still wearing the black evening gown she had just worn on stage. Although the dress looked nice, it was obviously too ostentatious to wear outdoors. It would be more appropriate to change into some ordinary clothes. After Su Liuli finished speaking, she turned around and walked towards the locker room in the distance. Xiao Kai and the other two came to their senses, and the expressions on their faces changed from curiosity to admiration. If there weren't so many people here, the three of them would have wanted to kowtow to Ji Feng. Ji Feng, that's awesome. Love Saint, you are the pride of our dormitory. Fuck, am I dreaming? Tainyo, give me a punch and see if I am dreaming. Xiao Kai's actions were exaggerated. When Zhang Tianyu heard the other party's request, he directly raised his fist as big as a sandbag. Etc. I'll do it myself. Watching Zhang Tianyu's fist about to fall, Xiao Kai's heart trembled, and he decided to do it himself. I pinched my thigh and felt a clear sense of pain. Hiss. It's really not a dream. Facing Xiao Kai and the other two, Ji Feng had a very interesting expression. Are you guys sick? So excited. Ji Feng, senior sister Su is the campus beauty. She actually took the initiative to come to you. How can we not be excited? Xiao Kai is right. Fortunately, we are the only ones who know about this. If other people saw it, you would become the public enemy of all the boys in the school. Jiangyu spoke very firmly, and Ji Feng was stunned. But if you think about it carefully, it is true. If he gets the only campus beauty of Fuxing University to be his girlfriend, he will probably become the public enemy of all the boys in the school. Ji Feng, we'll leave first. You wait here for senior sister Su. Almost everyone in the playground had left. Seeing this, Jiangyu and his companions also prepared to leave. After saying this briefly, he waved to Ji Feng, and the three of them walked out of the playground together. After standing there and waiting for 10 minutes, Su Liuli changed her clothes and came back to Ji Feng. He wore a white t-shirt on the upper body, jeans on the lower body, and white canvas shoes on his feet. At first glance, he looked very youthful. Where are your roommates? Have you all gone back? I stopped where I was and looked around, but didn't see anyone else. They were in a hurry, so they all went back. You haven't had dinner yet? Well, I haven't eaten yet, Tilda. She nodded slightly. She indeed hadn't had dinner yet. She had been rehearsing all day and only had something to eat at noon. It's so late, there probably isn't much to eat in the school cafeteria. I'll take you out to eat. Let's go, Tilda. Okay. After Ji Feng finished speaking, Su Liuli nodded in agreement without hesitation. The reason why she asked Ji Feng to stay and wait for her was that she wanted to go out for dinner together. The two of them left the playground side by side. Perhaps because it was a dark and windy night, not many people around noticed them. Was the last program of the welcome party added at the last minute? I see that you don't seem to be prepared either. Ji Feng asked casually while walking. Hearing this, Su Liuli immediately responded, it was indeed added temporarily. When the afternoon party was about to start, the student union found that the time of the last program on the program list was wrong. It was originally written as 10 minutes to half an hour, but it was mistakenly written as half an hour to 50 minutes. We put together 3 shows to let everyone compete, and I was chosen in the end. The tone was gentle, and it could be heard that Su Liuli felt helpless inside. Originally, she was going to rest peacefully after the last song and dance, but she didn't expect to add another program for herself at the last minute. So that's how it is, Tilda. They understood what was going on, and they just happened to arrive at the school gate. What do you want to eat? I want to eat beef noodles. Su Liuli thought carefully and blurted out. Eating beef noodles. Okay, I'll take you to eat beef noodles. Since Su Liuli wanted to eat beef noodles, he had no choice but to take her to eat. It was still the same restaurant as yesterday. The two entered and ordered a bowl of beef noodles each. About half an hour later, the two of them had eaten and drunk their fill. Ji Feng wanted to pay the bill, but was stopped by Su Liuli. You treated me last time, this time I'll treat you. Don't refuse, or I won't go out to eat with you next time. Her big eyes with beautiful eyes and dark eyebrows stared at Ji Feng firmly, and it was obvious that she was very serious. Okay, Tilda. Unable to persuade Su Liuli, Ji Feng had to nod in agreement. After simply paying for the noodles, the two came out of the noodle shop and walked west along the road together. In addition to food, there are many supermarkets on this whole street, and at the innermost part, there are also many chain hotels. Of course, almost all of these businesses are designed to serve students from several surrounding universities. There are 5 or 6 universities around Fuxing University. At night, the streets are almost entirely filled with students out for a walk. Walking side by side, Su Liuli and Feng hardly said anything. Today the road is pretty quiet. Before, there were a lot of people here at night. Su Liuli muttered to herself, looked around, and suddenly thought of something. What time is it? Let me take a look. It seems a bit late, it's 10:50. After watching the welcome party, it was already past 9 o'clock. I waited for a long time in the playground, came out to eat, and walked around for a long time. The dormitory closes at 10:30, and it's 10:50 now. What to do? Su Liuli's pretty face turned pale and she was visibly panicked. She was so busy strolling around that she actually forgot the time. Feng was stunned when he heard this. This was really not easy to deal with. The dormitory is closed. Are the two of them going to have to sleep on the streets? It doesn't matter to him as a man, but what about Su Liuli? Come on, I'll take you to find a place to live. After Feng finished speaking, he walked forward. Su Liuli stood there in a daze, holding the corners of her clothes tightly with both hands. After he took several steps, he realized that Su Liuli had not followed him. Helpless Feng had to return to Su Liuli again. What's wrong? Nothing, Tilda. Where are we going to live? I didn't bring my ID card, Tilda. The sound was very small. If the surrounding environment was not quiet and Feng had good ears, he might not have been able to hear it. Chapter 14 Couples, Double Room. You didn't bring your ID. It's okay, I have my ID with me. I carried my ID card with me when I was going through the admission procedures. I didn't expect it would come in handy now. He had just finished saying that he had his ID card with him. Su Liuli looked at him nervously, and even subconsciously took a small step back. Don't get me wrong, I didn't plan it. I used my ID card when I went through the admission procedures before, and I just happened to have it with me all the time. After hearing this explanation, Su Liuli was stunned and her face suddenly flushed. Feng said that he had his ID card with him, and she thought the other party did it on purpose. But one ID card can only check in one person, what should I do? It's okay, just get a room. Open a room. Su Liuli bit her red lips with her pearly teeth. Her pretty face was so red that it seemed like water was about to drip out. Yes, one ID card can only open one room. Wait for me at the hotel entrance. I'll book a standard room. After I book the room, I'll come out to pick you up. In his impression, as long as he didn't take the initiative to ask the hotel front desk staff, they would not deliberately intervene. In this special situation, it was nothing to stay for one night. Tilda. Since Feng said so, Su Liuli had no choice but to nod in agreement. Just on their way to their hotel in front, Su Liuli received calls from several roommates. When they learned that she was with Feng and could no longer return to the dormitory, Wang Mani, Dong Juzhe, and Liu Xiaoyu were all shocked. While worrying about Su Liuli, she also didn't forget to gossip about where the two would stay tonight. Faced with the teasing of her 3 roommates, Su Liuli felt embarrassed and angry. She wanted to refute but was worried that Feng would hear it, so she could only hang up the phone in a hurry. After Su Liuli finished the call, Feng slowed down and stopped in front of a hotel. I'll go in and get a room. You wait here for me. Tilda. Su Liuli nodded slightly, feeling nervous. This is the first time I've come to a hotel with a boy since I was a child. After getting Su Liuli's response, Feng entered the hotel gate. Su Liuli waited until Feng entered before she slowly looked up. When I entered the hotel, there was an aunt standing at the front desk. She looked to be in her 40s or 50s. When he saw someone coming in, he quickly stood up and greeted them with a smile. Hello, do you need accommodation? Do you have a reservation? I don't have a reservation. I want a standard room. Feng came to the front desk with his ID card, his face calm. No reservation. Wait a minute, I'll check for you. Young man, we only have one vacant room here right now. It's a king-size bedroom, is that okay with you? I looked down at the computer carefully and found that only one king-size bedroom was empty, and the rest were all full. King room. That doesn't seem to work. An awkward smile. It was almost impossible to let Su Liuli live in a double room with him, and maybe that little girl would misunderstand him. Thank you, Auntie. I'll take another look. Putting away his ID card, Feng prepared to turn around and leave. Wait a minute, young man. Auntie still recommends that you book this room. Today is Friday, and all the hotels around here are full. The only room left is this king-size bedroom, and a guest just checked out. Feng stopped where he was. What his aunt said did make sense. It is normal for hotels near the school to be fully booked on Friday nights. Well, let's take this one. Okay. Taking the ID card from Feng, the aunt simply registered at the front desk. After receiving the room card, Feng returned to their hotel. Are you ready? Seeing Feng coming out of the hotel, Su Liuli stepped forward and asked in a low voice. All right. But there is only one room left in this hotel, and it's a king-size bedroom. The front desk staff said that today is Friday and all the surrounding hotels are full. Look. He looked at Su Liuli in a questioning tone. After hearing that there was only one double bedroom left, Su Liuli was obviously stunned. After hesitating for a moment, she nodded. Just as Feng said, today is Friday and all the hotels are fully booked. The two of them couldn't really stand outside on the street all night, so having a room was better than having none. Then let's go in now. When Su Liuli came in from the door, the aunt at the front desk obviously noticed the two of them, but did not ask any questions. The aunt waited until the two of them entered the elevator before she looked up. Young people nowadays are quite shy. I am an experienced auntie after all. I guarantee you will be satisfied with this room. While muttering to himself, he was playing Spider Solitaire on the computer seriously. Take the room card and go up to the 5th floor. The room is on the far left of the corridor. He followed Feng silently all the way to the door of the room. Taking the room card, he opened the door. When the light in the room came on and a red light appeared, Feng was stunned. In the middle of the room is a heart-shaped king-size bedroom with a red gauze curtain hanging above it. A couple's room with a king-size bed. He stood there in a daze. Su Liuli behind him came to the side, and when he saw the layout of the room, he also stood there in a daze. Ahem. Liuli, please listen to my explanation. I really didn't know this was a couple's king-size bedroom. The aunt at the front desk only told me it was a king-size bedroom. Feng's face was filled with embarrassment at this moment. He couldn't clear himself even if he jumped into the Yellow River. It doesn't matter, as long as I can live here. Close the door. With a blush on her face, Su Liuli turned around, closed the door, then silently walked to the bed and stood still. He looked around and finally sat down on the sofa next to the bed. Under the light, her fair cheeks sparkled with an ivory-like halo, and her shy and lovely look was truly mesmerizing. However, Feng adjusted himself quickly. I looked away and opened the bathroom door. The toilet with separate dry and wet areas was very clean. Liuli, do you want to clean up? Feng pointed to the bathroom. I took a shower last night. Feng pointed to the bathroom. Su Liuli thought he wanted her to take a shower, so she explained nervously. Now that they were alone in a room, how could she have the nerve to go in and take a shower? Moreover, the design of this bathroom is also problematic. Only the middle part is covered, and the upper and lower sides are empty. She was standing inside taking a shower, and Feng outside could almost see her clearly. Have you taken a bath? Feng burst out laughing. His original intention was to ask Su Liuli to wash up, but he didn't expect that she misunderstood it as asking her to take a shower. Although Su Liuli misunderstood him, Feng did not want to explain. It wouldn't hurt to tease her a bit. Su Liuli now looked so shy and adorable. The school beauty who usually appears cold and noble unexpectedly has a petite and lovely appearance. Su Liuli sat quietly on the sofa. Feng went straight to another sofa and sat down as well. They both remained silent, and the room was unusually quiet. When are you going to take a break? You can sleep on the bed and I can sleep on the sofa. Finally, Su Liuli couldn't hold back her anger anymore. She opened her pearly teeth slightly, and looked at Feng silently with trembling autumn eyes. Chapter 15. You can't touch me. I finally checked into the hotel. I can't just sit on the sofa all night. Under Su Liuli's gaze, Ji Feng stood up silently. You go to sleep on the bed and I'll sleep on the sofa. It's ungentlemanly of me to let a girl sleep on the sofa. Gentlemanly. Su Liuli's long eyelashes trembled slightly, and she tried hard to suppress her smile. Yes, gentlemanly manners. Don't you feel anything? Standing in front of Su Liuli, Ji Feng deliberately spread out his hands. By the way, she did not forget to look down at herself. Although her clothes were not very good, her temperament should still be on point. Amused by Ji Feng's actions, Su Liuli stood up with her hands. Then I'll sleep on the bed. The sofa must be uncomfortable. It's not too late for you to regret it now. It's okay. If you really can't sleep, I can squeeze in next to you. He laughed and thought of teasing Su Liuli on purpose. Really? Hearing this, Su Liuli paused immediately, a blush flashed across her fair face, and she looked at the heart-shaped bed not far away. Humph, if you dare to come up, I will kick you down. As he spoke, he took the initiative to come to the bed, picked up a pillow and put it on the sofa, looked at it carefully again, and finally picked up the quilt on the bed. Standing there, Ji Feng didn't understand for a moment what she was trying to do. What are you going to do? Let me make your bed. You should also cover yourself with a quilt when you sleep on the sofa. As he spoke, he had already bent down to make the bed for Ji Feng. I'm covering myself with the quilt, what are you covering yourself with? He took a step forward and prepared to take the quilt from Su Liuli. I'm not cold, no need to cover myself with a blanket. Su Liuli continued to insist, so Ji Feng had to give up. I just watched silently as he made the bed for me and put the pillow on the other side of the sofa. After finishing everything, Su Liuli looked at the washroom not far away, and after hesitating for a long time, she finally walked over. 2 minutes later, the sound of the toilet flushing stopped and Su Liuli came out of the bathroom. I sat down on the bed, ready to take off my shoes and get into bed. Inadvertently, he turned his head and looked behind him. You don't want to sleep. A pair of white canvas shoes had been taken off, and white socks were worn on her delicate little feet. Being stared at by Ji Feng, Su Liuli felt a little embarrassed to lift her legs and get on the bed. Sleep. I'm going to the bathroom too, you go to sleep first. Su Liuli felt a little embarrassed standing here alone. In order to let her go to bed and have a good sleep, Ji Feng prepared to go to the bathroom first. After coming out of the bathroom, Su Liuli was already leaning on the bed. Her long legs were curled up together and her hands were placed in front of her, looking a little uncomfortable. Coming back to the sofa and looking at Su Liuli's appearance, Ji Feng decisively put the quilt back on the bed. Cover yourself with a blanket when you sleep, so you won't catch a cold at night. No, I'm fine. Su Liuli still wanted to refuse, but she couldn't resist because Ji Feng had already covered her with the quilt. This is a special situation. You don't want to have a stomachache tomorrow, do you? Listen to me and cover yourself with the quilt. What's the special situation? Su Liuli was confused after listening to Ji Feng's words. Looking back at the bathroom, she immediately understood something. She had just changed her sanitary napkin but had forgotten to cover it with toilet paper, so it must have been seen by Ji Feng. He murmured, his cheeks feeling like they were on fire. While Ji Feng was not paying attention, he curled up into the bed and covered his head with the quilt. Looking at Su Liuli who had curled up in the quilt, Ji Feng smiled helplessly. He just saw it inadvertently and didn't say anything after coming out. He didn't expect that the girl was still shy. He raised his hand to turn off the bedside lamp, leaving only the corridor light outside the toilet on, and the room suddenly became much darker. A few minutes later, perhaps sensing that Ji Feng had returned to the sofa to rest, Su Liuli slowly poked her head out. I glanced at the sofa cautiously and saw that Ji Feng was already lying down. Su Liuli, you are so embarrassing. Thinking back to what Ji Feng had just said, she wished she could find a hole in the ground to crawl into. After calming down in the quilt for a long time, he looked up at Ji Feng lying on the sofa again. Due to the limited length of the sofa, he couldn't put his feet down even if he curled up his legs. Looking at Ji Feng lying on the sofa, Su Liuli was a little hesitant. He glanced at the big bed under him, thought again, and tiptoed out of bed. Put on disposable slippers and slowly come behind Ji Feng. Are you asleep? Hearing Su Liuli's voice, Ji Feng turned around immediately. Maybe because of too big a movement, Su Liuli behind him lost her balance and was about to fall. R tilde. With a slight cry, she lost her balance, and her beautiful face suddenly turned pale with fright. Fortunately, Jiu Feng was quick-witted and reached out to grab Su Liuli's arm and pulled hard, and they both fell on the sofa. Her head hit a soft area hard, and Su Liuli fell completely on Jiu Feng. After both of them reacted, Su Liuli hurriedly forced herself to stand up. The fragrant breeze blew over, and Jiu Feng was obviously still a little unsatisfied. Are you okay? And never mind. As he spoke, he looked up at Jiu Feng silently, and finally mustered up the courage to say, "Come and sleep on the bed too. This bed is big enough for both of us. I can't get enough rest sleeping on the sofa." Thinking that there was something wrong with his ears, Jiu Feng said in disbelief, "I'm going to sleep on the bed too." Tilde. But you can't touch me tilde. The last sentence was spoken in a very low voice, so low that since there were only two of them in the room, Jiu Feng almost didn't hear it clearly. He is a man after all. His girlfriend has said so. If he doesn't seize the opportunity, he would really be like Liu Xiaohui. Good. This sofa is really not very comfortable to sleep on. Su Liuli herself didn't expect that Jiu Feng would agree so readily. After seeing that the other party had walked around the end of the bed and was about to lie down to rest, Su Liuli slowly walked to the bedside. "Take off your shoes and socks and lie down slowly." Lying in the same bed and covered with the same quilt, Jiu Feng could even clearly smell the fragrance of Su Liuli. They lay on their sides, and as time passed, Jiu Feng himself didn't know when he fell asleep. Late at night, he felt difficulty breathing in his sleep, and it seemed as if something heavy was pressing on him. Unable to bear it any longer, he woke up from his sleep, and the first thing he saw was Su Liuli lying on top of him. Her hands were tightly around his neck, her head resting in front of her, and one slender leg in jeans was straddling him. The white and delicate little feet were placed on his calves, moving from time to time. Are you so dishonest when you sleep?" Jiu Feng was completely sober, with a wry smile on his face. He is now in a dilemma as to whether to move or not. If he moved, Su Liuli, who was sleeping soundly, would definitely be awakened. If he didn't move, one of his arms would be pressed tightly by Su Liuli and would be a little numb. After thinking it over again and again, he finally gave up the idea of moving. With his other hand, he picked up the phone from the bedside table. It was almost 5 in the morning. It will be dawn soon, so it's better to endure it. Su Liuli was sleeping on his body, and Jiu Feng took the opportunity to admire her. Observing closely, Su Liuli's beauty was truly flawless. After staring at her silently for a long time, I couldn't help but want to take a few more glances. Chapter 16 Liuli, you want to murder your husband. I don't know how long it took. The curtains were drawn tightly, and I couldn't tell whether it was daybreak outside. The arm that was pressed by Su Liuli had no feeling at all now, and a slender jade leg was riding on his belly in an exaggerated manner. At this moment, Jiu Feng felt as if he was being embraced by an octopus and dared not move. Ding ling ling tilde. Just when he was feeling pain and happiness, the cell phone on the bedside table suddenly rang. While Su Liuli was still asleep, he quickly stretched out his left hand and picked up the phone. Without even looking at who was calling, he pressed the answer button. "Hello. Who are you feeding, little brat? It's so early in the morning. Are you sleeping in?" A familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. What Jiu Feng didn't expect was that it was his mother calling so early in the morning. "Mom. It's you tilde." Jiu Feng reacted and muttered softly. Su Liuli, who was lying on his body, seemed to have heard something and trembled slightly. The next second, she slowly opened her eyes. There was a look of sleepiness on her beautiful face. When Su Liuli saw that she was in Jiu Feng's arms, she was suddenly startled. R tilde. He stood up in panic. She was so frightened that she almost pushed Jiu Feng under the bed. His tilde. His right arm had completely lost all feeling. The moment Su Liuli stood up, Jiu Feng couldn't help but gasp. "Who? Jiu Feng, where are you?" That was a girl's voice just now. "Aren't you in school?" On the other end of the phone, Song Hualan, who was eating breakfast, was shocked. She didn't even have time to drink the milk that was handed to her mouth and asked Jiu Feng directly. "Mom, I have something else to do. I'll get back to you later. I'll hang up first." Su Liuli still looked panicked. In order to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, Ji Feng chose to hang up the phone with his mother directly. At this time, in the restaurant of Gu's Manor in the imperial capital, Ji Feng's grandmother and Ji Feng's father Ji Yuzhen were looked confused, and Song Hualan, who was holding the phone, had a similar expression. Hualan, what did Xiaofeng say? What girl's voice? Does your child have a girlfriend? Grandma put down the snack in her hand, her kind face full of curiosity. It's only the third day of school. If his eldest grandson has really found a girlfriend, then he is really amazing. This. Putting the phone aside, Song Hualan looked at Ji Yuzhen hesitantly. Being stared at by his wife like this, Ji Yuzhen didn't know what to do. He took a bite of bread awkwardly and turned his head to look away. Mom, I don't know what's going on. I just called Xiaofeng, and there was a girl's voice on his end. Explain to your mother-in-law respectfully. Judging from the voices I just heard, things must be complicated. It's not necessary to make friends so early in the morning. There must be something fishy going on. But I dare not tell my mother-in-law about this. If she knew, she would gossip all day long. A girl's voice. Why is there a girl's voice? What is this child doing? The old lady murmured to herself. Seeing this, Song Hualan deliberately gave a look to Ji Yuzhen opposite her. Noticing his wife's eyes, Ji Yuzhen understood it almost immediately. Mom, Xiaofeng must be going for a morning run so early in the morning. It's normal to have a few female classmates on the playground. I have another meeting later, and Hualan also has to go to work, so let's eat quickly. Well, eat it. The old man had doubts in his mind, but had no evidence, so he had to give up for the time being. Magic City, inside the hotel. Su Liuli, who was fully awake, curled up at the head of the bed with a blushing face. Ji Feng rubbed his arm. The numbness and soreness lasted for 3 to 5 minutes before he gradually regained consciousness. How was your rest yesterday? Suddenly hearing Ji Feng's words, Su Liuli raised her head and said, not bad. Is your arm okay? Ji Feng rubbed his arm. She saw it clearly. It must be because I was pressing on it all night, causing the blood circulation to be blocked, causing the numbness and soreness. I didn't mean it. You know best how you sleep. He didn't sleep well last night and treated Ji Feng as his stuffed toy in the dormitory, so he just hugged him. Isn't it intentional? With a faint smile, Ji Feng looked at Su Liuli with curiosity. Hearing this, Su Liuli hurriedly continued to explain, I really didn't mean it. I might have slept too soundly. I treated you like my stuffed toy in the dormitory, so I. Are you hungry? Pack up and get up for breakfast. Changing the subject, Ji Feng got out of bed, put on his shoes and went straight to the bathroom. Seeing this, Su Liuli also came to the bed, put on her shoes, and folded the quilt. When Ji Feng came out of the bathroom, Su Liuli had already cleaned up the outside, folded the quilt neatly, and even put the disposable slippers in the trash can. I'm done, go wash up. Yeah, okay. Su Liuli entered the bathroom, and 5 minutes later, the two of them went to the front desk to check out. The aunt at the front desk was very enthusiastic when she saw the two of them. Not only did she quickly cancel their room, she also invited them to come back next time. After finally leaving the hotel, Su Liuli followed Ji Feng. Was it your mother who called this morning? The moment I opened my eyes, I saw Ji Feng was on the phone, and it seemed to be his mother calling. In response to Su Liuli's question, Ji Feng nodded without even thinking. It's really your mother. Did auntie hear me? He stopped, covered his mouth with one hand, his eyes full of tension. The screams were so loud that even if you were standing outside the hotel room, you could probably hear them clearly, not to mention on the phone. I heard it and asked who I was. What to do? Would you like to explain when you call later? Explain? Explain what? Of course, I'm explaining that last night was an accident. We weren't together yesterday. Having said this, Su Liuli noticed that Ji Feng was looking at her with amusement. You made me say it on purpose, didn't you? No, I didn't say anything. Ji Feng spread his hands, looking very aggrieved. In Su Liuli's opinion, his expression was obviously fake. I really don't know how to explain it. What did we do together yesterday? Ji Feng asked deliberately. Su Liuli raised the corner of her mouth slightly when she heard it. Her beautiful eyes gradually curved into crescents. She stretched out her slender jade hand and directly grabbed the soft flesh on Gu Feng's waist. Tilde. Liuli, you are trying to murder your husband. Gu Feng couldn't help but scream in pain in his waist. Seeing him in pain, Su Liuli smiled happily. Who told you to bully me? HMPH tilde. After saying this happily, he walked away without looking back, leaving Gu Feng standing there stupidly. You have quite a lot of strength. Muttering to himself, looking at Su Liuli's tall back, Gu Feng quickly followed. There are many breakfast shops nearby. I randomly found a breakfast shop with relatively few people and found an empty seat to sit down. Military training starts today. The military training at Fuxing University is very strict. Are you ready? Sitting on the chair, Su Liuli supported her chin with one hand, staring at Gu Feng with her charming big eyes. It should be fine. Oh tilde, that's good. Breakfast is here. Just as the two were talking, the waiter came over with the prepared breakfast, 2 bowls of millet porridge, 2 eggs, and a vegetarian bun for each person. Chapter 17. The name is nice. After breakfast, they returned to school. Gu Feng sent Su Liuli all the way to the girls' dormitory and watched her enter the dormitory before turning around and leaving. While returning to the boys' dormitory, he took out his cell phone and prepared to call his mother. I still need to explain what happened this morning. Beep beep beep. Hello. You little brat, did you know to call your mom back? The phone was connected and the teasing voice of his mother Song Hualan was heard. After hearing his mother's words, Gu Feng raised his hand and scratched his head. Mom, of course I have to call you back. Are you busy? If you are, I'll hang up first. Etc. It's a coincidence today. Your mom is not busy at all. Come on, explain to me, why is there a girl around you so early in the morning? Didn't you go back to the dormitory last night? In the office of the chairman of the Imperial Capital Zhuzhou Group, Song Hualan leaned back in her office chair. Her tone of voice was very calm, but there was a faint smile on her face. It was obvious that she was very happy that her son had a girl around him. I didn't go back to the dormitory. But mom, things are really not what you think. Gu Feng wanted to try his best to explain, but he was interrupted by Song Hualan on the other end of the phone. It's not what I thought it was. What is it like? Tell mom, what's the girl's name? When did you two get together? Do you have a photo of the family? Send me one. Not wanting to hear any extra words, Song Hualan now had only one thought in her mind, which was to find out what her future daughter-in-law's name was and what she looked like. Mom, we just got together, I really don't have any photos. No photos. You are trying to fool me, right? Do you believe me and I will tell your grandma about this? She is more anxious than I am. If she insists on going to the Magic City, I won't be able to stop her. You decide for yourself. The tone was very relaxed, and the threat seemed to overflow from the phone screen. When Gu Feng heard this, a hint of bitterness appeared on the corner of his mouth. He couldn't let his grandmother know about this for the time being. Mom, they say that old ginger is the spicier one, and you are still the best. Old spicy. You mean, little brat, I'm old. No, you are young. You are younger than anyone else. I'll find the photo for you and send it to you in the next 2 days. Please don't tell my grandma. He had no choice but to compromise, but Song Hualan on the other end of the phone was extremely happy. What's the girl's name? Call Su Liuli tilde. Su Liuli. Yeah, that's a nice name. You'd better send the photos to me as soon as possible, or I'll have someone investigate. Okay, I know. Well, Mom, I have something else to do. I'll hang up first. If he continued talking, he didn't know what his mother would ask him. Gu Feng made a prompt decision and put it down decisively after he finished speaking. There was suddenly no sound on the other end of the phone. Before Song Hualan, who was sitting on the chair, could react, Gu Feng had already hung up the phone. This kid is really, I'm just asking, is he that scary? He placed his cell phone on the desk and pressed the dial button on the landline. Xiaoya, come in for a moment. In less than 10 seconds, there was a knock on the door outside the office, and a woman in professional attire walked in quickly. Chairman, you are looking for me. The woman was about 30 years old, with a slim figure and her hair piled high. She looked heroic in her professional attire. Xiaoye, I remember you mentioned last time that there was an international fashion week in the capital, and there were a lot of clothes on display, right? Song Hualan suddenly asked this. Wang Xiaoye was slightly stunned and nodded without knowing why. Yes, why did the chairman suddenly ask this? No big deal. I have a junior who is about 20 years old. I want to give her some clothes. Go to this fashion week and help me pick out some clothes. The style of the clothes doesn't have to be fancy, as long as they look good for everyday wear. You choose the clothes, buy the copyright, and tell the organizer that the same clothes don't need to be put on the market later. Chairman, what is the height and weight of this lady? When asked this by her assistant, Song Hualan immediately gave a bitter smile. She was so focused on giving gifts that she forgot to ask about her future daughter-in-law's height and weight. How about this, you send someone to investigate a girl named Su Liuli at Fuxing University. Just find out her height and weight, don't ask for any other information. Okay, Chairman, I understand. If you don't have anything else to do, I'll go take care of it first. Go ahead. Watching Wang Xiaoye leave, Song Hualan couldn't help but smile. My son is not that stupid. He has found a girlfriend just a few days after school started. Not bad tilde. When Ji Feng arrived at the boys' dormitory building, he was about to go upstairs. After taking a few steps, he suddenly sneezed twice. Achoo tilde. Cole. Are you catching a cold? Weird. He rubbed his nose, thinking that it might be because he didn't get enough rest last night, and strode back to the dormitory. Early in the morning, I opened the door of the dormitory. Ji Feng thought that Xiao Kai and the others were still sleeping soundly, but what he didn't expect was that the moment he pushed open the dormitory door, the three people on the beds sat up at the same time. You scared me. What time is it? Why are you guys awake so early? Ji Feng he, you are finally back. You didn't come home last night. Tell me, where did you take senior sister Su? With a chuckle, Xiao Kai turned over and got out of bed. Jiang Yu and Zhang Tianyu also looked curious. Last night, they were waiting for Ji Feng to come back, ready to torture him. No one expected that even after waiting until the dormitory door was closed, there was still no sign of Ji Feng. This made the three of them very excited. What will happen if you stay out all night? Senior Su. What is it, senior sister Su? I stayed at a hotel outside the school last night. Senior sister Su had already returned to the dormitory. When telling a lie, my face doesn't blush and my heart doesn't beat fast. Looking at Ji Feng's appearance, Xiao Kai and the others looked at each other and asked curiously, Ji Feng, you weren't with senior sister Su last night. Didn't you leave together? Jiang Yu still didn't quite believe it. We left together. After a brief chat, senior sister Su went back to the dormitory by herself. I had a midnight snack and when I wanted to come back, I found that it was closed. I had no choice but to spend the night in a hotel outside. You still thought that senior sister Su and I stayed out all night together. What are you thinking about? Pretending to be calm, he walked through a few people and climbed onto his bed while talking. Things like spending the night outside with Su Liuli must not be known to Xiao Kai and the others. If they knew about this, there would be a huge uproar. TSK, I said it's unlikely. Jiang Yu, I'm right. But speaking of which, Ji Feng, what is your relationship with senior sister Su? Don't tell us that we are just ordinary friends. The way senior sister Su looked at you last night was so gentle and full of love. It's not just ordinary friends at all. Chapter 18 I'm going to vomit. Zhang Tianyu's doubts are also the doubts of Jiang Yu and Xiao Kai. Even though he had already guessed the relationship between the two, he couldn't help but want to confirm it thoroughly from Ji Feng. It's really not easy. Laughing, Ji Feng lay down on the bed. Senior sister Su confessed to me, but I haven't accepted it yet. You are such a jerk. How can you say such shameless words? Senior sister Su is pursuing you. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to vomit. I want to vomit too tilde. I want to hit someone, what should I do? After hearing Ji Feng's words, the three of them behaved more exaggeratedly than each other. If Ji Feng answered that they were now boyfriend and girlfriend, they would believe it without hesitation. But this guy actually said that it was senior sister Su, the school belle, who confessed to him. He is so shameless. You don't believe it? Ji Feng chuckled. The three of them looked at each other and said almost at the same time, "I believe you, you big-headed ghost. Since you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do." After saying that, he lay down on his back, ready to take a nap. Su Liuli had been pressing on him the whole night, and he hardly slept at all, so he felt completely listless now. Ji Feng lay down to rest, and Xiaokai, Jiangyu and the others did not continue to ask questions. "The three of us are going out for breakfast. Do you want me to bring you some?" "No, I ate it when I came back." "All right. We have to organize the opening ceremony of the military training at 9 o'clock. You should get some sleep first. We will call you when we come back." After talking to Ji Feng, the three of them left the dormitory together. I closed my eyes and went to sleep. I don't know how long it had been before I heard a few gentle calls by my ears. I woke up in a daze, and the moment I opened my eyes, Jiang Yu's smiling face suddenly appeared. "Ji Feng, it's almost 9 o'clock, hurry up and get up to go to the meeting." "Oh." He agreed, packed up his things, and followed Jiang Yu and the others out of the dormitory. The opening ceremony of the military training was still held on the playground. When the four people came to the outside of the playground, a lot of people had already gathered on the huge playground. Of course, 99% of them are freshmen. "Students, which college are you from?" "School of Finance." "Which class in the School of Finance?" "Class 2. Okay, follow me." After hearing Ji Feng and others answer that they were from Class 2 of the School of Finance, the senior student wearing volunteer sleeves brought the four people to the area of Class 2 of the School of Finance. "Director Liu, these four are students from Class 2 of your School of Finance. Please arrange for a seat." Ji Feng and others were brought to a fat man, who was about 30 years old. For some reason, he looked cute at first glance. Ji Feng is quite familiar with Counselor Liu Bo. For the previous 4 years, Liu Bo had been their counselor. Although he is a fat man, he is skilled in martial arts and his body is quite flexible. In a word, he is a flexible and interesting fat man. Good. For students, let me introduce myself. I am your instructor Liu Bo. I will spend the next 4 years with you. Let's just shake hands. Smiling cheerfully, he introduced himself and shook hands with everyone. "Hello, instructor." The instructor was so polite that the four of them also behaved very respectfully. "Come on, sit in the back. The stools have been prepared, with each of your names on them. Put away your own stools. They will be your tool for resting during the following military training. If it's lost, then we can only sit on the ground and rest. Don't worry, instructor. We will definitely protect our own Mazar. I don't know what's wrong with this kid Xiaokai." He gave Liu Bo the young pioneer salute. What they didn't expect was that Liu Bo actually returned the young pioneer salute. This action caused the students around to burst into laughter. The students in the front row of the neighboring class almost fell off their stools laughing so hard. "Xiaokai, are you stunned? How old are you? You should salute like a young pioneer. At least give a military salute." Following Xiaokai and being stared at by his classmates, Jiangyu felt his face burning. "Oh tilde. Sorry, I was so nervous that I forgot about it." Xiaokai looked embarrassed. They came to the back of the line, found their seats, and sat down one after another. Not long after they sat down, many classmates came one after another. Looking at these familiar faces, Ji Feng felt mixed emotions. Before graduation, everyone was very familiar with each other and everyone had a very good relationship with everyone. After graduation, he hadn't even seen Xiaokai and the others, let alone others. At 9 o'clock sharp, all the freshmen arrived. In the distance, the vice president in charge came to the stage and delivered a speech at the opening ceremony of the military training with the microphone. After the vice principal finished his speech, he began to assign instructors to each class. I thought all the instructors were men, but after everyone went on stage, the students in the front row with better eyesight immediately spotted several female instructors. Wow! Female instructor. It would be great if our class could be assigned a female instructor. I heard that female instructors are very gentle. There are only 3 female instructors in total. How can we possibly get one? Stop fantasizing. Ji Feng, do you think we will be assigned a female instructor? Jiangyu sat next to Ji Feng, looking into the distance with an excited expression. No, it should be a male instructor, maybe an old man. Old man. How is that possible? It would be fine if the instructor wasn't a female, but how could they be assigned an old man? As everyone was whispering, the school leaders on the stage had already begun assigning instructors to each class. The 3 female instructors at the front of the line were assigned first. When it came to Class 2 of the School of Finance, it was the turn of an old man in his 40s or 50s. The leader assigned the position to them without any hesitation. This is Instructor Guo Jungwo, a retired squad leader who is mainly responsible for the military training of Class 2 of the School of Finance. Everyone is welcome. At the command of the school leader, the students around began to applaud wildly. Jiangyu glanced at Ji Feng with shock on his face, and also applauded silently. Ji Feng, your mouth has been blessed. You can even guess this. What Ji Feng said was absolutely correct. They really were assigned an old man who looked more than twice as old as the surrounding instructors. In response to Jiangyu's words, Ji Feng just smiled and said nothing. After rebirth, many things have changed, but some things have not changed much. For example, the counselor is still the same counselor, and the instructor is still the same instructor. Chapter 19, A Day Without Seeing is Like a Year. The opening ceremony of the military training has been completed and the official start time is set at 2 p.m. After attending the opening ceremony of the military training, Xiao Kai and Jiangyu prepared to go to the internet cafe to play, and Zhang Tianyu prepared to go to the basketball court. Ji Feng, do you want to go with me? Zhang Tianyu stopped. Forget it, I want to go back and get some sleep. All right. Then I'll go first. Ji Feng wanted to go back to sleep, so Zhang Tianyu had to turn around and leave. Xiao Kai and Jiangyu also ran towards the school internet cafe and watched the 3 people leave. Ji Feng turned around and returned to the dormitory. Bitcoin should be operational. I was muttering to myself, and besides wanting to go back to sleep, I actually wanted to do some Bitcoin operations. On their way back, he took out his mobile phone and fiddled with it for nearly half an hour before he finally put up the contract. Observing the current trend, it is nothing special and no one can tell that there is a sign of a big rise. Whether it can be done or not depends on tonight. Speaking of which, after being reborn once, this shouldn't go wrong, right? Ji Feng was muttering to himself. After being reborn, many things were affected by him and changed to varying degrees. He was not 100% sure and could not predict this matter accurately. I returned to the dormitory, put my phone aside, went to bed and fell asleep. I slept from morning until noon, and woke up in a daze at around 1 o'clock. He was the only one in the dormitory, Xiao Kai and others had not returned yet. Just as Ji Feng was about to get out of bed and tidy up, his cell phone suddenly rang. I thought it was Xiao Kai and his friends calling me, but when I picked up the phone, it turned out to be Su Liuli calling. Hey, Liuli Tilder. There will be a military training at 2 p.m. Which class are you in the finance department, Tilder? Su Liuli on the other end of the phone was sitting on the bed in a white pajamas, her black hair casually draped over her shoulders and a sweet smile on her face. Look, since I came back this morning, I've been grinning from time to time. Liuli has fallen in love. TSK, it's absolutely true that a woman's IQ plummets when she's in love. Wang Mani, Liu Xiaoyu, and Dong Jizhi stood by the bed, looking shocked, staring at Su Liuli who was on the bed and talking on the phone. Having lived together for more than 4 years, he knew Su Liuli and the others too well. He always acted as if he was indifferent to worldly matters towards outsiders. I have never seen her so proactive before, she actually took the initiative to call a boy. After talking to Ji Feng, Su Liuli put down the phone, and while she was grinning unconsciously, she noticed the 3 people standing on the ground. Mani, Xiaoyu, Jizhi, why are you looking at me like that? Covering her cheeks with her hands, Su Liuli asked softly. Why are you looking at me? Liuli, as girls, we should be more reserved. Look at you. You've been grinning for no reason since you came back this morning. Everyone knows you have a boyfriend, but you don't have to be so obvious, right? Wang Mani came to the bedside and, while Su Liuli was not paying attention, reached out and grabbed Su Liuli's slender waist. Su Liuli felt her waist go limp, and then she reacted and dodged in panic. At the same time, she did not forget to retort, I have always been very reserved. I'm going to buy some fruit this afternoon, do you want to come? Buy fruit? Is it for your boyfriend who is undergoing military training this afternoon? Liuli, you said you were reserved, but has it become so serious that you feel like you've missed each other for so long when we haven't seen each other for just one day? Liuli, I didn't expect you to have this side. Why didn't we notice this before? Dong Juju and the others started teasing one after another. Su Liuli blushed and immediately retorted, it feels like a long time since we last met. Juju, Xiaoyu, Manny, you still have the nerve to say that to me. I don't know who it was last time. He had to go out to look for his boyfriend after turning off the lights. She looked at Dong Juju with a proud little look. Seeing this, Wang Manny and Liu Xiaoyu immediately looked at Dong Juju with a smile. Jia, who is Liuli talking about? Yes, who is Liuli talking about? Dong Juju was stunned. She really didn't expect that with just one word from Su Liuli, Wang Manny and Liu Xiaoyu would directly change their targets. Oh, it's me. You two are still laughing at me. I don't know who it is, but you're nowhere to be seen since Friday. I didn't go back to the dormitory for 2 consecutive days. Dong Juju smiled proudly, while Wang Manny and Liu Xiaoyu blushed slightly. Isn't this exactly what was said about them? Okay, Liuli, you're just trying to divert the trouble away. You want us to kill each other, don't you? By the way, you want us to accompany you to deliver the fruit this afternoon. Wang Manny looked at Su Liuli with a smile. Well, are you going or not? Go. I have to go. We've only seen each other from a distance and haven't spoken to each other yet. We have to at least go get to know each other. Dong Juju agreed without hesitation, and Wang Manny and Liu Xiaoyu also nodded. Without further delay, let's go out and sell fruit now. Walk. In terms of enthusiasm, Wang Manny and others are even more enthusiastic than Su Liuli, the person involved. At this time, Feng had already packed up and was about to leave the dormitory. As luck would have it, the moment the door opened, Jiangyu, Xiao Kai and Zhang Tianyu came back together. Why did you come back just now? I thought you were going to gather directly at the playground. How can I go to the gathering if I haven't changed my clothes yet? Hurry up, change your clothes. It is already 1:30 and there is still half an hour before the gathering. If we leave the dormitory now, we still have plenty of time. I didn't check the time. If it weren't for Jiangyu and Xiao Kai, I would still be playing. Zhang Tianyu explained breathlessly and quickly changed his clothes. Jiangyu and Xiao Kai performed almost the same actions. What about you two? We were planning to stay on the plane until 12:30, but we were forced to get off the plane. Who knew that the school's internet cafe system had a malfunction, and it was delayed for more than half an hour? When I came back, I saw Tianyu was still playing basketball, so I called him back quickly. Jiangyu explained while changing her shoes. Seeing this, Feng had no choice but to sit down and wait for the three of them. As time was getting closer, the three of them finally changed their clothes. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Walk. Carrying stools, the four of them ran out of the dormitory at great speed. When their classmates passing by saw them, they all looked at them curiously. However, the four of them obviously couldn't care less about these things at this time. I rushed to the playground, where many teams had already gathered. By the time I found the location of Class 2 of the School of Finance, it was exactly 2:01. Hello, instructor. The four of them stopped at the same time and greeted the old man in front of them. When Instructor Guo saw the four people, he smiled brightly. Xiao Kai and the others thought that nothing was wrong, but Feng's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 20, The Old Man is a Smiling Tiger. In the previous life as military training, every time Instructor Guo smiled like this, something bad would always happen. This time it's probably not much different. Sure enough, he came up to the four people with a smile, raised his hands and patted their shoulders one after another. Just now, many students told me that they didn't know how to stand at attention. How about you guys come and help demonstrate? Upon hearing this, Feng and the other three's eyes tightened and they looked at each other. Since no one objects, then I'll work hard. Come on, stand at attention. He laughed and shouted, and Feng and the other three straightened their bodies immediately after hearing the words. Hold your hands tight and keep your head and chest high. Yes, keep this posture and set a good example for your classmates. The instructor smiled, but Feng and the others felt bitter. Their silence did not mean they agreed. Being punished to stand on the first day of military training is not a good sign. Students, military posture is a standing posture that reflects the spirit of a soldier. You must not be lazy and your mind must remain highly focused. These students have done a great job. Everyone, stand at ease. Everyone sit down and watch for an hour. The students who were originally standing in the sun pulled out their stools and sat down one by one after hearing what Instructor Gua said. With a tense smile on his face, he looked at Jiu Feng and the others. Thanks to their four people's lateness, they were able to sit down and rest for an hour, so everyone's eyes revealed a smile of gratitude. As for Instructor Gua himself, after a few quick glances, he walked around the three people and came to the other side, where he also sat down leisurely. Fuck. This old man is a smiling tiger. I thought it was nothing. Jiangyu stood up straight and muttered softly. Who says it's not? Alas, let's not talk about it. If we add another hour later, I won't even have anywhere to cry. Zhang Tianyu responded quietly, and as luck would have it, the instructor happened to see him opening his mouth. It seems that these two students are very enthusiastic. What are your names? With his signature smile on his face, he stood up and walked happily to Zhang Tianyu and Jiangyu. Report. My name is Jiangyu. Zhang Tianyu. Okay, Jiangyu, Zhang Tianyu, let the two of you demonstrate the standard horse stance movements to the students. Spread your legs and squat down. Raise your hands horizontally. Originally it was just a simple standing at attention, but now, they directly squatted in a horse stance. Jiu Feng and Xiao Kai were standing nearby. When they saw Zhang Tianyu and Jiangyu start to do horse stance, they couldn't help but gloat over their misfortune. I wanted to laugh but didn't dare to, and my face turned red from trying to hold it in. Students, horse stance is a test of physical fitness. The movements of these two students are pretty standard. It is now 20 minutes past 2, and we observe 3 o'clock. After checking his watch and speaking to all the students, Instructor Guo returned to his seat. In the distance, many teams have begun to organize their formations, but here, a large group of people are sitting and watching the standard moves of Jiu Feng and his four companions. Jiangyu and Zhang Tianyu had never done horse stance before, and their legs began to tremble after squatting for less than 10 minutes. At the same time, outside the playground, several elegantly dressed senior schoolmates came over. Especially the senior student walking in front, the moment she appeared, she attracted the attention of most of the students around her. Liuli, you are still the best after all. When the three of us came out, no one looked at us like that. Dong Jia held Su Liuli's arm and shook it gently, while acting coquettishly. Jia, isn't that right? When Xiaoyu and I came out, some classmates were staring at us. But if I brought you out with me, no one would want to watch us anymore. Ho, Manny, what do you mean? Is your skin itchy? Do you believe I can scratch you? With a charming smile, she stretched out her hand and gestured to Wang Manny twice. Seeing this, the latter raised one hand to cover her chest and hurriedly took 2 steps back. This is outside, Jia, you'd better calm down. HMPH, tell me, are you wrong? He looked at Wang Manny with a smug and arrogant look. Wang Manny was really afraid of the other party, so she could only nod obediently. This was outside the playground, with so many people watching. If Dong Jia really pinched her, she would not be able to face people again. Jia, I find that you are really Manny's nemesis. Okay, aren't we going to accompany Liuli to meet her boyfriend? Go in quickly. Wang Manny came to Su Liuli, and several of them appeared on the playground carrying several boxes of fruit. The School of Finance is over there. Let's go take a look. Let's go Tilder. In addition to the freshmen, there are many sophomores, juniors, and even seniors on the playground. Some clubs organize activities here, while others are just bored and sit together to watch the freshmen's military training or play cards. The scene was very pleasant. Su Liuli stood in place and looked around but couldn't find Jiu Feng. Strange, where did you go? Huh? Liuli, look, there are a few students standing over there as punishment. Is Jiu Feng one of them? Having noticed nothing around, Liu Xiaoyu was the first to notice the 4 people who were being punished to stand in the distance. Looking in the direction Liu Xiaoyu pointed, Su Liuli saw Jiu Feng's back and immediately confirmed that the person standing on the left was Jiu Feng. It's him? Is it him? It's true. As expected, he is the one who can get our Liuli. He is really extraordinary. Standing as punishment on the first day of military training is not something that most people can do. He. Dong Jia smiled, and Wang Mani and Liu Xiaoyu also chuckled. She didn't want to laugh at first, but when she saw her three roommates laughing so happily, Su Liuli couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Let's go and take a look. Now that they are here, even if they are standing as punishment, they have to go and take a look, otherwise wouldn't it be a waste of time? The moment Su Liuli and the others appeared, the freshmen who were training around them, as well as the seniors who were watching the fun, all focused their attention on the four of them. To be more precise, it converged on Su Liuli. At this time, Jiu Feng and the others didn't know what was going on because they were facing away from each other. But what they saw was that the classmates who were supposed to be staring at the four of them all looked away. Just when Jiu Feng was still confused, a beautiful and familiar figure appeared in his sight. Liuli. He never thought that Su Liuli would come to see him at this time. Wow tilde. What a standard military posture. And you're still doing horse stance. Su Liuli didn't say anything, but Dong Zhuzhe and others beside her were smiling coquettishly. Jiu Feng and the others looked a little embarrassed, especially Jiang Yu and Zhang Tianyu, as they had been in horse stance for too long and their current state looked very funny. Anyone who sees it can't help but laugh. Tilde. Let me take some pictures. Standing not far from Jiu Feng, Su Liuli smiled gently, took out her cell phone, and started taking pictures in front of him. I thought the other party came to comfort me, but I didn't expect that this girl actually took out her mobile phone to take a picture of me. Chapter 21, He is simply a love saint. I took several photos in a row, capturing the entire 360-degree angle. Su Liuli was taking pictures here, and instructor Guo in the distance seemed to be completely invisible and continued to sit on the ground leisurely. As for the students in Class 2 of the School of Finance, including the students who were training nearby, they all showed expressions of amazement. They couldn't imagine what kind of charm Jiu Feng had that could make a beautiful girl like Su Liuli take a photo of him. It is obvious that the two know each other and their relationship is not simple. Isn't this senior sister Su? Who is that? Senior sister Su's boyfriend. No way, senior sister Su's boyfriend is a freshman. This boy is amazing. He has only been in college for a few days, but he has already managed to win over the campus beauty. Fuck, he's simply a love saint. Enough of that, you guys, you're all jealous. Even if they don't pursue senior sister Su won't look down on us. A goddess with that kind of temperament is like a fairy in the sky to us. We can only admire her from afar and not play with her. The students in the class were talking in low voices. After taking the photos, Su Liuli did not leave, but came to the side and stood quietly with Wang Mani and others. It was not until 3 o'clock that instructor Guo slowly got up from the ground. Jiu Feng and Xiao Kai were able to hold on while standing at attention. As for Zhang Tianyu and Jiang Yu who were doing horse stance, their legs were completely out of control and their bodies were shaking like sieves. It gives people the feeling that they can lie down at any time. The military posture is good tilde. You two students, this horse stance is not quite right. Would you like to add another 10 minutes so that the students can study harder? Jiang Yu and Zhang Tianyu's horse stance was crooked and instructor Guo sounded dissatisfied. When Jiang Yu heard that the instructor intended to add another 10 minutes, he quickly admitted his mistake. Instructor Guo, we were wrong, really wrong. You must not add another 10 minutes, old man. I really can't bear it if you add another 10 minutes. Yes, instructor, we were wrong. Please have mercy on us. Jiang Yu admitted his mistake, and Zhang Tianyu spoke immediately afterwards. Now is not the time to save face. As long as we can prevent them from getting in a horse stance and get them to admit their mistakes and say nice things, there will be no problem at all. What about you? Do you know you are wrong? Instructor Guo glanced at Jiang Yu and Zhang Tianyu who were still doing horse stance, and then turned his attention to Jiu Feng and Xiao Kai. Yes, instructor, we were wrong. I won't be late again next time. Yes, there won't be a next time. Xiao Kai started, and Jiu Feng added a sentence. Well, a good child is one who knows his mistakes and can correct them. You four, take a break. We'll start training in half an hour. Whose relative is that girl over there? Hurry up and come back within half an hour. If you take more than half an hour, you will be treated as late. After glancing at Su Liuli in the distance, Instructor Guo finished his words, then returned to his previous seat and sat down leisurely. Family members. Jiu Feng, senior sister Su is here, why don't you go and see her? Jiang Yu and Zhang Tianyu looked up into the distance. Just as Ji Feng took a step forward, they suddenly said, Ji Feng tilde. Can you talk to a few seniors and ask them not to post photos on WeChat Moments? If you want to post on Moments, can you give me a code? I haven't found a girlfriend yet, woo woo. Jiang Yu had a bitter face, and Zhang Tianyu next to him had the same expression. Other people's horse stance was very standard and beautiful, but the two of them had their legs shaking from the very beginning. This awkward posture cannot be seen by too many people. It is embarrassing enough now. If the photo really gets out, it would be like being naked and turning a millstone, going around in circles and being embarrassed. Okay, I know. After responding, Ji Feng went straight to Su Liuli and the others. You're late today. You were late for the first day of military training and were punished by standing. Su Liuli came in front of Ji Feng and asked with a smile. Yeah, you saw it all. Not only did you see it, but you also took pictures. He raised his hand and patted Su Liuli's head, intending to teach her a lesson, but he never expected that this action would seem somewhat intimate. It gives people a feeling of flirting. Ji Feng paused slightly, and after being gently stroked on the head, Su Liuli also realized that this action was somewhat intimate. His face immediately turned red. I just wanted to take a picture. Do you have military training tonight? Would you like to have dinner together? Su Liuli stared at the blushing cheeks and asked seriously. I don't know if there will be military training, but there will definitely be time for meals. I'll call you after the training is over tilde. Good. The two stood together and talked in a low voice, and everyone around them looked at them. You know what? From this point of view, Ji Feng and senior sister Su are quite a good match. Har har har. They are indeed a good match. My roommate is the boyfriend of the campus beauty. We can tell about it when we go out and it will be a great honor for us. Jiang Yu, Xiao Kai, Zhang Tianyu and others sat on the mat and chatted happily. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. Ji Feng came back to prepare for training, while Su Liuli, Wang Mani and others turned around and left the playground. Most of the afternoon was spent practicing formations. After every hour, the instructor would let us take a 20-minute break. When it was 6 o'clock in the afternoon, it was time for dinner. That's all for today's training. You don't have to go to work tomorrow morning. I will go to the dormitory to check the housekeeping and teach you how to fold the quilt. Does anyone have any questions? Instructor Gua stood in front of the team and spoke loudly to everyone present. No problem. Okay, at ease. Stand at attention. Disband right here. The afternoon military training time passed like this. Ji Feng and a few others walked out of the playground together, carrying stools in their hands. Several people were covered in sweat and were ready to go back to put down their stools, change their clothes and then go to eat. After returning to the dormitory and changing their clothes, Xiao Kai, Jiang Yu, Zhang Tianyu and others went to have dinner, while Ji Feng called Su Liuli in the dormitory. After receiving Ji Feng's call, Su Liuli quickly got up and packed up, and arrived downstairs of the girls' dormitory in a few minutes. At this time, Ji Feng was already waiting downstairs in the girls' dormitory. Where are we going? Su Liuli happily came to Ji Feng and raised her head. Let's go outside and take a look. Let's go tilde. Good. Following Ji Feng, they walked outside. Just as they were about to walk out of the school gate, the cell phone in Ji Feng's trouser pocket rang. My mom's phone. Oh, then you pick it up quickly tilde. When Su Liuli heard Ji Feng say that it was his mother's call, her pretty face was startled and she involuntarily took a small step back. Although this is an era of free love, she still couldn't help getting nervous when facing her boyfriend's parents. Chapter 22 I won't tell you. He pressed the answer button and talked for a long time in front of Su Liuli. Staring at Ji Feng, Su Liuli stood there very obediently, with her feet naturally together, her eyes silently watching Ji Feng who was on the phone. Under Su Liuli's silent gaze, Ji Feng, who was holding a mobile phone, turned around and looked over. What happened? Covering the phone with one hand, Ji Feng said with embarrassment, Liuli, my mother wants to talk to you. Su Liuli's cherry lips opened slightly and her delicate body trembled. Ji Feng was also helpless. His mother didn't know what was going on either. After talking for a long time, she still wanted to talk to Su Liuli. Or I'll take it. Give me the phone. After hesitating for a moment, Su Liuli made up her mind and decided to answer the phone. The aunt had made it clear that she wanted to talk to her, and she couldn't just say no. After Su Liuli said this, Feng hesitated for a moment, but still handed the phone to Su Liuli. He knew his mother's character very well. The reason she wanted to talk to Su Liuli was just out of concern, and she would never say anything else. The reason why I didn't want Su Liuli to answer the phone was mainly because I was worried that she would not be able to adapt and would be nervous. Hello, Auntie Tilda. Holding the phone, Su Liuli began to chat quietly with Song Hualan over there. By the way, I can also create some distance between myself and Feng. At the beginning, Su Liuli looked a little nervous, but after 5 minutes, her beautiful face was full of smiles, and there was no trace of nervousness at all. After chatting for nearly 20 minutes, Su Liuli finally put down her phone. When Feng picked up the phone again, he found that his mother had hung up the call. Forehead. Hang up already. Liuli, what did you talk about? He looked at Su Liuli with curiosity. What did the two of them talk about for a full 20 minutes? How could they talk for 20 minutes? We talked a lot. A lot? What exactly did you talk about? Humph, I won't tell you. Feng wanted to ask more, but Su Liuli snorted and said, I won't tell you. Don't tell me yet. Putting away the phone, Feng shook his head helplessly. Since Su Liuli didn't want to say it, he didn't want to ask deliberately. They found a restaurant outside and had a simple dinner. Then they walked together until 9 o'clock in the evening and then returned to their dormitories. When they returned to the dormitory, Zhang Tianyu and Jiangyu had already fallen asleep. Xiaokai was sitting on the bed, and seemed to be ready to sleep as well. I went to bed really early today. That's when the two of them went to dinner today, their legs were still shaking. Our instructor Gua is really a smiling tiger. He is so cruel. This old man is not kind at all. Recalling how he stood at attention on the playground this afternoon, Xiaokai couldn't help but complain. No, I have to go to bed too. Feng, remember to turn off the lights before you go to bed and go to bed early. After talking to Feng, who was getting into bed, Xiaokai fell asleep directly. In less than 5 minutes, clear snoring sounds could be heard in the dormitory. You fall asleep really fast. I'm going to take a shower first. 10 minutes later, Feng had tidied himself up and was lying comfortably on the bed. Before going to bed, I took a special look at the trend of Bitcoin. It fluctuated slightly, but not much of an increase. The phone was connected to the charger and he closed his eyes and began to sleep. Time passed quickly and it was the next day. At 8 o'clock in the morning, several people in the dormitory were still sleeping soundly. Boom boom boom. There were several loud noises outside the dormitory door, and Feng and others who were sleeping were instantly awakened. Everyone, get up. In 10 minutes, check the housekeeping. Those who don't meet the standards will be sent to the playground with their blankets. A familiar voice sounded in the corridor, obviously it was Instructor Guo's voice. After hearing that there would be a housekeeping inspection in 10 minutes and those who did not meet the standards would have to go to the playground with their quilts, Xiaokai and his friends got up very quickly. It takes 1 minute to get dressed, 2 minutes to fold the quilt and make the bed, 5 minutes to start mopping the floor, and about 7 minutes to open the dormitory door. You four. Everything packed. When Instructor Guo saw Feng and the others, there was some surprise on his face. He didn't expect that the first dormitory to open the door would be the four of them. Hello, instructor. It's all packed, you can check it. Okay, let me take a look. After hearing Feng and others say that they had packed up, Instructor Guo stepped into the dormitory. He first looked at the ground, nodded imperceptibly, and then looked up at the quilt on the bed. He frowned slightly when he saw the first one, and his expression became quite ugly when he saw the last one. Is this the quilt you made? Is this how military blankets are folded? Whose quilt is this? Pointing to the bed closest to the door, Zhang Tianyu hurriedly stood up after hearing what Instructor Guo said. Instructor, this is mine. Let me show you how. He took the quilt off the bed and carried it to the computer desk. After fully unfolding the quilt, Instructor Guo began to teach seriously. In just 3 or 5 minutes, a square quilt appeared in front of them. This. What a neat quilt. Do you know how to fold it? Refold the quilts for the 3 of you according to this specification. I'm in the hallway. Once you've folded it, call me in to check. Instructor, take my quilt, Zhang Tianyu spoke hesitantly. If you're willing to practice it again, then tear it down and practice again. After saying this, Instructor Gua turned and left the dormitory. Yohu, I don't think I have to rewrite it. Come on, you three. Instructor Gua's meaning was so obvious, and he was not a fool, so of course he understood it. However, he understood that Xiao Kai and Jiang Yu did not think so. As roommates, they must share the joys and sorrows. Hey. Let me take a look, Tilder. With a sly smile on his face, Jiang Yu raised his hand and unfolded the folded quilt in front of Zhang Tianyu. Jiang Yu, you. Har, Tianyu, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and fold it again. We share happiness and difficulties. Do you still want to abandon the three of us? Looking at the three people in disbelief, Jiu Feng and the others smiled and spread their hands, then turned back to their beds to fold the quilts. The quilt had been unfolded, so Zhang Tianyu had no choice but to fold it again with the other three. Fortunately, with the previous traces, it was not that difficult to fold it. Almost the entire morning was spent on tidying up the house. It was noon now and Su Liuli hadn't contacted me yet. She must be in class. Jiu Feng took out his mobile phone, thinking of checking the Bitcoin market. Fuck. Even though I was mentally prepared, I was still shocked by the skyrocketing rise of Bitcoin. A long red column almost took up the entire screen. After opening the profit panel and seeing a series of profits, Jiu Feng didn't have time to think about it and directly clicked to close the position. The position was too large, and it took more than 10 minutes to completely close the position. After deducting the handling fee, all the money in the account will be withdrawn to the bank card, with a leverage of 1 million and a profit of 12 million. Those who went long made huge profits, while those who went short suffered nearly 90% liquidation. Sure enough, the higher the risk, the greater the return. I don't dare to operate this kind of thing without 100% certainty. I thought to myself, fortunately I have my previous memory. If I had acted on my own and shorted the entire million, I would probably have lost everything. This kind of crazy surge can only occur in the virtual currency trading market. Chapter 23 Imperial Capital International Fashion Week. A profit of 12 million is just enough to win the game peak competition. As long as we can support the launch of this game, profitability will definitely not be a problem. After lunch, Jiu Feng and others took a nap in the dormitory. The military training period is 15 days, and today is the second day. During these 15 days, there are no holidays on Saturdays and Sundays, which means that they have to train for 15 consecutive days before they can rest. After lunch break, we still went to the playground for training in the afternoon. When it was 6 o'clock, the afternoon training was finally over. Jiu Feng, the three of us are going to have dinner, do you want to come? Jiang Yu quietly came to Jiu Feng's side, his face beaming with joy. He was so tired from the military training in the afternoon that he had already planned to go to the restaurant for a good meal. Xiao Kai happily stood with Zhang Tianyu. They had just discussed that they would trick Jiang Yu into treating them to crab rice in the evening. Just as Jiu Feng was about to answer, a fragrant breeze blew over, and Su Liuli appeared behind him at some point. She was wearing a black dress, sandals on her feet, and her smooth black hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Compared with the previous jeans and canvas shoes, this outfit looks more graceful and attractive. After seeing Su Liuli, Jiang Yu was stunned at first, and then he understood instantly. Jiu Feng, stay with senior sister Su. We're leaving first. Bye-bye. After giving Jiu Feng a look, Jiang Yu, Xiao Kai and the others decisively turned around and left. Jiu Feng waited until the three people walked away before turning around. Are you in class today? Yes. Auntie said she mailed some things to me. Please go with me to get them after dinner. I was in class in the morning when I suddenly received a call from Jiu Feng's mother, saying that she had bought some things for him. She originally wanted to refuse, but the items had already been delivered, and Jiu Feng's mother insisted that she accept it, so she had no choice but to agree. Something my mother sent. Jiu Feng was confused. How? Don't you know? Jiu Feng looked confused, and Su Liuli was also a little surprised. She had always thought that Jiu Feng knew about this in advance, but now it seemed that he was also kept in the dark. I really don't know. Forget it, since something has been delivered, just keep it. Although I don't know what it is. After saying this with a smile, he took Su Liuli to the school cafeteria near the school for dinner. It has to be said that the influence of Su Liuli, the school beauty, is quite significant. The moment the two of them appeared in the restaurant, Feng felt that hundreds of eyes were looking in their direction. As expected, the campus belle of Fuxing University is amazing. Appearing in the restaurant with you, I also became the focus. Standing next to Su Liuli, Feng joked as he walked. After hearing Feng's teasing, Su Liuli blinked her beautiful eyes slightly and a hint of pride appeared at the corner of her mouth. Do you feel pressure standing with me? He stopped and looked at Feng with a puffed face. Of course not. I have a girlfriend who is a school beauty. I can show off to her so I don't have time to feel any pressure. Yeah. Wearing crystal sandals, Su Liuli took a small step back. Just when Feng didn't understand what she wanted to do, Su Liuli raised her slender hand with a slightly red face. It was very unfamiliar, and he just put his arm around Feng's arm. If two people came in, everyone would start to doubt their relationship. Now, Su Liuli's actions have almost shown everyone that she and Feng are now in a relationship. Wow. Senior Sushi actually took the initiative to hold that boy's arm. Oh my god. That's a freshman, right? How could the campus beauty of Fuxing University be pursued by a freshman? It's over, my goddess. This simple action caused discussion among most people in the restaurant, and some even took out their mobile phones to secretly take photos. The fact that Su Liuli was already taken was enough to cause a stir of discussion throughout Fuxing University. Feng was a little surprised when Su Liuli suddenly held his arm. He really didn't expect that Su Liuli, who was always shy and blushed easily, would actually hold his arm in public. Liuli. What's wrong? With two blushes on her fair cheeks, Su Liuli silently looked up at Feng. It's nothing, I'm just a little surprised that I didn't realize you were so brave before. Har har har. Without saying much, he took Su Liuli directly to the restaurant window. Under everyone's gaze, the two had dinner in the restaurant. After coming out of the restaurant, Feng took Su Liuli to the express delivery station inside the school. When they saw the box sent by their mother Song Hualan in the mail, they were both stunned almost at the same time. So big. Su Liuli covered her mouth with her hands in amazement, and Feng, who was standing next to her, was also at a loss whether to laugh or cry. It was a large square box with a diameter of 1 meter, and no one knew what was inside. I'll carry it with you. No, I can get it myself. Bend down, stretch out your hands and pick up the box. Although the box was big, it was not very heavy and I could lift it easily. Carrying the box, he sent Su Liuli to the downstairs of the girls' dormitory. I'll call Manny and the others to come down and help me. You take a rest first. She took out a tissue from her bag and helped Feng wipe the sweat from his forehead without any concern. The thing is not very heavy, but it still took a lot of effort to carry it all the way here. The main reason is that it is difficult to hold, and my arms can't bear it after holding it for a long time. After receiving Su Liuli's call, Wang Mani and others quickly went downstairs. When they saw the big box in front of Feng, the three of them were all shocked. Wow! Such a big box, what's in it? Liuli, it can't be delicious. I don't know either, Tilda. Help me carry it in first. Su Liuli shook her head. She really didn't know what was inside. Go back and rest early, we have military training tomorrow. I have classes tomorrow morning and something else in the afternoon. I'll call you when I'm done. Standing next to Feng, Su Liuli said in a low voice. Good. Feng nodded in agreement, stood there, and watched the few people return to the dormitory before turning around and leaving. It was hard to move the big box back to the dormitory. Dong Jijia found a pair of scissors immediately, and after getting Su Liuli's consent, she raised her hand to open the box. Wow! It looks like clothes. When I opened the box, it was filled with packaging bags, 6 or 7 in total. No wonder such a big box doesn't feel heavy at all. It turns out it contains 6 or 7 pieces of clothes. She picked up a packaging bag and took out the clothes inside, a floral dress that looked quite delicate. Wait, hey, this dress looks familiar, I seem to have seen it somewhere. Dong Jijia was holding up a floral dress, and Liu Xiaoyu spoke thoughtfully, when suddenly an idea flashed in his mind. I remember now. Isn't this dress the one exhibited at the last Imperial Capital International Fashion Week? We saw it on the internet. Exactly the same. Chapter 24. Then I'll carry you over. After Liu Xiaoyu said this, Dong Zhizhi and Wang Mani also looked down carefully. It's true. This is a limited edition piece for International Fashion Week. This material, can't it be real? The three of them were surprised and turned to look at Su Liuli. Su Liuli was also confused at this time. She had also looked at it online and the styles were indeed exactly the same. However, it was just shown at the Imperial Capital International Fashion Week, so it is impossible to go into mass production so quickly. Look at the others. Dong Zhizhi was holding the floral dress in her hand, and Wang Mani picked up another packaging bag and took out the clothes inside. A deep red evening dress inlaid with crystal ornaments appeared in front of the people. This one too. Liuli, the clothes in the box seem to be limited editions from Fashion Week. Wow, Liuli, what does Gu Feng's mother do? She gave away so many limited edition clothes at once. These clothes can't be bought with money. As Dong Zhizhi spoke, Su Liuli was stunned for a long time. She thought it would be some delicious food or some cosmetics. I didn't expect it to be such expensive clothes. Let me make a phone call first. The clothes were too expensive, and Su Liuli herself didn't know whether she should accept them. After hesitating for a moment, he took out his cell phone and called Gu Feng. At this time, Gu Feng had just returned to the dormitory and was about to take a shower. Before I could go out with the wash basin, the phone on the bed suddenly rang. When he saw that it was Su Liuli calling, Gu Feng answered the call without hesitation. When Gu Feng learned that his mother had given him clothes, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it wasn't gold, silver or jewelry. If that were the case, he wouldn't know how to explain it to Su Liuli. Even though they were clothes, Su Liuli still didn't dare to accept them after learning that each piece of clothing was very valuable. He persuaded her for a long time before finally getting her to accept the clothes. She also made an agreement with him to take some time to pick out some gifts for her mother, Song Hualan, and send them to the capital as a return gift. After hanging up the phone with Su Liuli, Gu Feng went to take a hot bath with peace of mind. After a whole afternoon of military training, everyone was tired and went to bed before 11 o'clock. The next day, military training continued as usual. It is worth noting that during the afternoon military training, he received a call from Professor Wu, inviting him to attend a lecture at Shanghai University. The content of the lecture was about the research and development of the top interest groups in the School of Computer Science. Gu Feng naturally knew what the real purpose of going to attend the lecture was. Putting down his phone, Gu Feng looked at Teacher Guo in confusion. The agreed time is tomorrow morning. It is the middle of military training now. If I want to ask for leave, I must not only greet the counselor, but also explain the situation to the instructor. It was easy to ask for leave from the counselor with just a word, but he was not sure if he could get leave from the instructor. Take advantage of the break to call your counselor first. There was almost no need to talk too much. After hearing that he wanted to take a leave, the counselor approved it without even asking what he was going to do specifically. After greeting the instructor, Gu Feng walked hesitantly to Instructor Guo. At this time, Instructor Guo was tinkering with a black-shelled old-fashioned cell phone in his hand. When he noticed someone coming, he slowly looked up. Student Gu Feng, what's the matter? After being punished for standing last time, I still have a deep impression of Gu Feng. Coach Guo, I would like to ask for leave from you. I have some personal matters tomorrow morning. Can you give me half a day off? Stand still and try to behave as well as possible. Ask for leave. Well, have you told your instructor about asking for leave? I have already informed the counselor, and he has agreed. Since your instructor agrees, then go ahead. Instructor Guo nodded and also didn't ask any more questions. I was a little surprised that the instructor agreed so easily. Instructor Guo was about to lower his head to continue studying the old phone in his hand, but when he saw Gu Feng still standing there stupidly, he looked up in confusion. Anything else? No tilde, it's okay. Instructor, you are busy. Raising his hand to signal Instructor Guo to continue his research, Gu Feng quickly turned around and left. It was so easy to ask for leave tomorrow morning. He didn't dare to continue disturbing him here. What if the old man was in a bad mood and regretted not giving him leave? That would be a problem. After a short break, military training continued. It lasted until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Looking at the time on his watch, Instructor Guo gave the order to disband. All the teams in the playground dispersed at the same time and rushed towards the playground gate in a mighty manner. Jiu Feng, let's go eat first. Good. After waving to Jiangyu and the others, Jiu Feng took out his cell phone and prepared to call Su Liuli. The phone kept ringing, but Su Liuli didn't answer it. Not knowing what was going on, he could only come to the gate of the playground and wait quietly for 10 minutes. Then, his cell phone rang and it was Su Liuli calling. After waiting for another 5 minutes, Jiu Feng looked into the distance and happened to see Su Liuli walking towards him. Jiu Feng walked up to her and looked at Su Liuli. He frowned and asked, "What happened to your foot?" His steps were slow and there was something wrong with the way he walked. "It's okay, the shoes don't fit well and they are worn out tilde." Standing in front of Jiu Feng, Su Liuli shook her head slightly. "I went to teach a part-time class today. I didn't expect that my shoes didn't fit well. My ankles and heels were rubbed from walking back and forth. Are you chafed? Let me see." After learning that Su Liuli's feet were rubbed, Jiu Feng immediately squatted down and prepared to check. "No need tilde. It's okay. I'll buy a band-aid later and put it on." The flawless white calf gently stepped back, a trace of anxiety flashed in Su Liuli's eyes, and she hurriedly explained. The moment Jiu Feng squatted down, he could clearly see that Su Liuli's ankles were rubbed bright red by her shoes, and the same was true for her heels. "Where did you go today to get your feet so worn out?" "Go to class tilde." After the words fell, Su Liuli realized that she hadn't made it clear, so she added, "Go teach the children in the kindergarten." Teaching kindergarten kids. Well, I found a part-time job last semester. I teach 3 classes a week to the children in the Blue Sky kindergarten. I just didn't expect that the shoes I wore this time didn't fit well. When Su Liuli mentioned that the feet didn't fit well, she frowned slightly. It was obvious that her feet were still painful from the rubbing. "Come. I'll take you to the infirmary." Turning his back to Su Liuli, Jiu Feng squatted down. "What are you going to do?" Seeing Jiu Feng suddenly squatting with his back to her, Su Liuli's heart began to beat wildly. This action couldn't be more obvious. "I'll carry you to the infirmary. Your feet are already worn out like this, do you still want to walk to the infirmary? Come up." After Jiu Feng finished speaking, Su Liuli still stood there hesitating. It was not that she didn't want to, but that she didn't dare. "You don't want me to carry you, then I'll carry you over." Standing up, Jiu Feng stretched out his hand with a smile, as if to pick up Su Liuli. "No tilde. Still carry it on your back." He looked nervous like a frightened little rabbit. After hearing Su Liuli's words, Jiu Feng squatted down with his back to her again. Looking at Jiu Feng who had his back to her, Su Liuli curled up a smile. She looked around to see that there was no one around, and then she gently lay on Jiu Feng's back. It was the first time that she was carried on the back of her boyfriend. She was very nervous and hugged Jiu Feng's neck tightly with her hands. Chapter 25. This is from me. Even though it happened on campus, this action still attracted a lot of attention. Jiu Feng himself is quite thick-skinned and doesn't care at all about the looks of people around him. As for Su Liuli on his back, she buried her head deeply in Jiu Feng's back, her eyes tightly closed, her eyelashes trembling slightly, and she didn't dare to open her eyes to look around. After closing my eyes for about 10 minutes, I heard Jiu Feng's familiar voice, "We're here tilde." "Oh tilde." Hearing that they had arrived at the infirmary, Su Liuli slowly opened her eyes. When he got off Jiu Feng's back, he found that he was already in the infirmary. The doctor was standing in front of him, looking at him with a confused expression. There were several classmates around who were receiving for drips, also staring at her with curiosity. In just a moment, the originally fair and flawless face turned red. She didn't expect that Jiu Feng would carry her directly into the infirmary. "Classmate, what's wrong with you?" The female doctor standing in front asked softly. "My feet are rubbed raw, and it's pretty serious. Please take care of it." "Oh tilde, sit here, let me take a look." After hearing Jiu Feng's explanation, the doctor motioned for Su Liuli to come and sit on the sofa, while he squatted down to check the injuries on her ankle and heel. "The shoes don't fit well because they are worn so badly. You can't wear these shoes anymore. Your feet are rubbed like this. If you don't treat it in time, there's a risk of infection." After giving a few instructions, he turned around and took some iodine and gauze from the counter. "No need to apply medicine. I'll wash it with iodine. It might hurt a little. It's okay, Tilda. Su Liuli responded that she could walk back wearing shoes, so the pain of disinfection was nothing to her. In front of the two of them, he poured iodine onto a cotton ball and gently wiped Su Liuli's wound. During the whole process, Su Liuli didn't even frown. This indifferent state made Feng feel a little surprised. After cleaning the wound, gently wrap the gauze around your ankle twice. All right. Don't wash your feet for the next few days. Don't get them wet. It will be fine once the scab forms. Okay, we know, thank you, doctor. I took my cell phone to the medical desk and bought a roll of gauze and some iodine, which cost me $3 in total. After paying the bill, Feng came back to Su Liuli. Seeing Feng coming over, Su Liuli blushed and stood up quickly. I should be able to walk by myself, Tilda. Fearing that Feng would continue to squat and carry her on his back, Su Liuli took the lead in saying that she could walk. Can you walk? Feng smiled and pointed at Su Liuli's feet wrapped in gauze. You can't walk without shoes. I just recited it anyway, so it doesn't matter this time. Come on up. Classmate, your boyfriend is right, just let him carry you. The other foot is also a little red and swollen. It's easy to get rubbed if you walk for too long. You need to go back and change your shoes quickly. After Feng finished speaking, the female doctor also gave instructions. After Su Liuli heard this, she was silent for a moment and could only nod slightly. Watching Feng squatting in front of her, Su Liuli slowly lay down, suppressing the pounding emotions in her heart. He carried Su Liuli out of the infirmary and went straight back to the girls' dormitory. He sent Su Liuli all the way to the downstairs of the girls' dormitory and asked her to go upstairs to change her shoes. Feng stood downstairs and waited quietly. 20 minutes later, Su Liuli changed into a pair of white canvas shoes and went downstairs. Have you changed? Come on, I'll take you out. He raised his hand and touched Su Liuli's head, and the two walked out of the school side by side. Where are we going? It's still early, go shopping with me. Go shopping with you. Su Liuli blinked her long eyelashes gently, opened her mouth slightly, and looked at Feng in confusion. Generally speaking, it is girls who like shopping. What's wrong? Don't you like shopping? Su Liuli looked surprised, and Feng thought she just didn't like shopping. No, Tilda, Su Liuli shook her head slightly. I just didn't expect you to want to go shopping. I heard from Manny and Juja that their boyfriends really don't like shopping. Following Feng, Su Liuli explained softly that she had never come into contact with many boys, and all she knew about boys were what she heard from her roommates. Har, people are different. Relatively speaking, I prefer to wander around. Although he said so, he actually had never gone shopping before, especially shopping with a girl. This was the first time. We walked and talked, and left the school together. There is a shopping mall not far from Fuxing University. Because it is located in a higher education area, the shopping mall here is very prosperous. The two came to the outside of the mall. The square was almost full of people. In addition to people walking back and forth, there were also many stalls. Let's go in. Good. When we walked into the mall together, we found that 90% of the stores on the first floor were women's clothing stores, and there were very few stores selling men's clothing alone. I only saw two along the way. Come here and take a look. Feng stopped and looked towards the women's clothing store in front of him. Judging from the decoration, the store should be more upscale than the surrounding stores. This is a women's clothing store. Who are you buying clothes for? Instead of following Feng in immediately, Su Liuli chose to stand there and ask in a low voice. When shopping, of course you have to look around, Tilda. Let's go. He pulled Su Liuli's delicate hand, not giving her any chance to react. Hello, welcome. After seeing a customer coming in, the shopping guide at the door immediately greeted him warmly. From the outside, the store looked quite large, and only after entering did we realize that the area was really huge. In addition to clothing, there are also many women's shoes for sale here, and there are a lot of people choosing clothes inside. Let's just take a look. Well, sir, here are our latest models, you can take a look. This dress is nice, would you like to try it on? I took a few steps forward and my eyes rested on the dress the model was wearing. The black dress with red lace looks quite delicate and beautiful overall. Before Su Liuli could speak, the shopping guide smiled and said, Sir, you have a good eye. This dress is the latest model and the best-selling one in our store. Your girlfriend is so beautiful, she must look good in this dress. As a shopping guide, she still has the most basic sense of propriety. Judging from the looks of Feng and Su Liuli, it is obvious that they are a couple. And they are a couple who have just been together for a short time. Can you help us take it down and give it a try? Sure. After hearing Feng say that he wanted to try on clothes, the shopping guide hurried downstairs to look for the same style. Su Liuli stood beside Feng, holding the corner of Feng's clothes tightly with one hand. I have a lot of clothes. Auntie just bought me so many. You don't need to buy more. That was given by my mother, and this is given by me. No conflict. But Su Liuli wanted to continue speaking, but the shopping guide had already brought the clothes in front of them. In this situation, it was no longer realistic for her to say she didn't want to try it on, so she could only obediently take the clothes from the salesperson. Please come this way. He brought Su Liuli to the fitting room and did not forget to help open the door. While Su Liuli went inside to try on clothes, Feng turned his head and looked at the women's shoes area not far away. Hello, I want to pick out a pair of high heels. Okay sir, what kind of style does your girlfriend like? When the shopping guide heard that Feng wanted to pick out a pair of shoes, he immediately asked enthusiastically. The heels don't have to be too high, just normal ones will do. Her previous shoes always rubbed her feet. Chapter 26 still a bit conservative. Don't worry, sir. The shoes here won't rub your feet. Shoes that rub your feet usually have design problems. Take a look at the styles here and pick a pair you like. You can let your girlfriend try them on later. Pointing to a row of high heels in front of her, the shopping guide said softly. The high heels in front of me are all of quite nice styles. After looking for a long time, my eyes finally stopped on a pair of silver white high heels. The heels of this pair of shoes are not very high, and the style is very similar to the pair Su Liuli wore before. Let's take this pair. Size 37. Yes sir, I will help you find the right size. He turned and entered the warehouse next door, and after a while, he came out with a shoe box. At the same time, the door of the fitting room opened and Su Liuli, wearing a black dress, came out. Wow. This dress is perfect for you. It's really nice to wear. Seeing Su Liuli coming out in a black dress, the shopping guide came forward with a look of surprise on her face. This was not her deliberate flattery. Su Liuli looked extremely beautiful in this black dress. She was wearing a black dress and white canvas shoes. Her soft and delicate calves were exposed, and her goose neck was covered with white. Everyone around her was looking at her. This dress is really beautiful. Anything else? Can you give me one to try? Yeah, I want to try it too. Because of Su Liuli, several girls who were choosing clothes nearby all took a fancy to this dress. Needless to say, the shopping guides were so happy that they rushed to their warehouse to get clothes based on the girls' figures. Seeing Su Liuli coming out of the fitting room, Feng slowly walked up to her. How are you dressed? Hearing Feng's words, Su Liuli hesitated for a moment and slowly came to Feng. It's too expensive. Let's go to another store. Their voice was so soft that even the shopping guide standing not far behind Feng couldn't hear it clearly. It's okay Tilda. This pair of shoes is also chosen for you, try it on. He simply responded, put the shoe box in his hand on the ground, supported Su Liuli's shoulders, and let her sit on the sofa. He took out the shoes from the shoe box and prepared to help Su Liuli put on her shoes. Watching Feng squatting down, Su Liuli's eyes became slightly red. Knowing that Feng was definitely going to buy her clothes today, she no longer refused and just turned her head away. At this time, Feng had not noticed anything strange about Su Liuli. After putting on his shoes, he looked up and saw that Su Liuli seemed to be in a bad mood. Liuli, what's wrong with you? No, I'm fine Tilda. Are you feeling unwell? No Tilda. Facing Feng's words, Su Liuli just shook her head slightly. The shoes fit perfectly and were obviously much better than the pair Su Liuli wore before. Of course, the price is also very good. A piece of clothing and a pair of shoes cost more than 2,000 yuan. After paying with a credit card, Feng and Su Liuli left the women's clothing store with the shopping guide's enthusiastic farewell. Are you really okay? It's okay, let's go over there and take a look. Feng was holding the bag in his hand. Su Liuli held his wrist, and her mood was obviously better than before. Under Gu Feng's puzzled gaze, the two came to a men's clothing store. You bought me clothes. Coincidentally, I also want to buy you some clothes. Come on, come with me and take a look. Bringing Gu Feng in, Su Liuli found that men's clothes were relatively simple. Su Liuli took Gu Feng and spent a long time carefully selecting in the store. Everyone around who came to buy clothes looked at Gu Feng with envy. It is such an honor to be brought by such a beautiful woman like Su Liuli to choose clothes. What's more, judging from the way Su Liuli chose clothes, she was obviously very attentive. After choosing for a long time in the store, I finally picked a shirt and a pair of pants. Su Liuli took out her mobile phone to pay, and Gu Feng silently looked at the bags in his hand. After a simple checkout, the two continued to stroll around. The shopping time was joyful but short, and before we knew it, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Well, I want to buy some things. Can you wait here for me for a while? Su Liuli stopped and looked at Gu Feng a little embarrassedly. Okay. I don't know what Su Liuli is going to do, but since the other party asked him to wait here, he might as well wait here. Putting the bag in her hand aside, Su Liuli turned around and returned the same way. Time passed minute by minute. I stood there waiting for nearly 20 minutes, but there was still no sign of Su Liuli coming back. Where did you go? Looking along the aisle, there are women's clothing stores on both sides, and at the end of the aisle is a large clothing supermarket. Carrying the bag, she walked towards the clothing supermarket, while also observing the women's clothing stores on both sides of the aisle, but there was no sign of Su Liuli inside. There was no sign of Su Liuli in the women's clothing stores on both sides of the aisle. The only possibility is the large clothing supermarket not far ahead. As you step into the supermarket, the first thing that comes into view is the men's and women's clothing area. Walking along the aisle, you will soon arrive at the underwear area. It's not here, is it? He stood there muttering to himself, then turned around and prepared to go to the women's clothing area next door to take a look. Just as his eyes were moving away, a familiar figure flashed before his eyes in the women's underwear area. Liuli? In the distance, Su Liuli in a white dress was very conspicuous. There was a flash of surprise in his deep eyes. Gu Feng didn't expect that Su Liuli was actually in the women's underwear area. Just as Gu Feng noticed Su Liuli, the other party turned around and noticed him. Holding blue underwear in her hand, Su Liuli watched Gu Feng walking towards her. She was stunned at first, then a flash of panic appeared in her eyes, and she felt a little at a loss. When Gu Feng came in front of her, Su Liuli hurriedly hid the underwear in her hand behind her back. She asked shyly, "Why are you here?" He took a close look at the blue underwear in Su Liuli's hand. Judging from the style alone, it was obviously a bit conservative. Of course, I dare not say this in front of Su Liuli. I waited outside for a long time, but you didn't come out, so I thought I'd come in and look for you. Oh, I? Su Liuli opened her mouth slightly and was about to speak. Girl, is this your boyfriend? The boy is really handsome. Just listen to what your aunt says. These pants are very good and go very well with the lace bra you just picked. Besides, the fabric is pure cotton and very breathable. Behind Su Liuli, a middle-aged aunt dressed in shopping guide clothing made careful recommendations. It can be seen that the aunt is definitely a person of temperament. However, it was already embarrassing enough. After hearing what her aunt said, Su Liuli felt so nervous that she wished she could find a hole to crawl into. Chapter 27, ID Card. I don't think I brought it with me. Auntie, this one. With the one just now, I'm going to check out. Su Liuli quickly put the blue underwear in her hand into the black bag and turned to walk towards the cashier. At this moment, she didn't even dare to look up at Gu Feng in front of her. Young man, do you want to pick out a few more pieces for your girlfriend? All the underwear we have here is made of pure cotton and comes in many styles. Your girlfriend is so beautiful, she will definitely look great in them. Su Liuli turned around and left with the black bag, and the aunt tried to sell something to Gu Feng again. Not to mention the girl Su Liuli, even Gu Feng, who is so shameless, can't stand it now. Ahem. Clear your cough 3 times to relieve the embarrassment in your heart. Auntie, I don't need anything. You go ahead and do your work. After saying that, he chased after Su Liuli without looking back. When he arrived at the cashier counter, Su Liuli had just finished paying the bill and the two were about to leave. Behind me, the shopping guide caught up with me and said, "Wait a minute, little girl. Auntie, is there something wrong?" The selected underwear were all in a black bag. Suddenly, my aunt came over, and I didn't know what was going on. "I left in a hurry just now. Auntie has some gifts for you. The clothes are comfortable to wear. Remember to come again next time." In front of the two of them, he stuffed the square box into Su Liuli's black bag. The speed was so fast that even Feng couldn't see clearly what the gift was. "Thank you, Auntie Tilda, thank you." Although she didn't know what the gift was, Su Liuli still said thank you to the aunt several times. "Let's go." After buying the things, the two prepared to leave the mall. It was already very late and there was not much time left before the dormitory closed. When I walked out of the mall, it was already dark outside. Because they hadn't eaten yet, the two found a small restaurant near the school and had a simple dinner. During the entire meal, Su Liuli hardly spoke a word, and seemed to be still immersed in the shopping guide's recommendations. After dinner, it was already 9:40 and there were still 50 minutes before the dormitory closed. However, their current location is very close to the school, and it would only take less than 20 minutes to walk back. Just as the two were walking towards the school, the phone in Feng's trouser pocket rang at a very inopportune time. "Stop and take out your cell phone. My roommate's phone number tilde. Hey, Jiangyu tilde." When the call was connected, Jiangyu's bitter voice suddenly rang out from the other end. "Feng, where are you? Are you going back to the dormitory tonight?" "Back, what's wrong? Are you coming back?" When Jiangyu heard that Feng was going back to the dormitory, his voice rose several degrees, and he seemed very surprised. "Of course I have to go back. Do you want me to sleep on the street?" No, then let me ask, are you with senior sister Su now?" "Yes." "Ouch, well, I accidentally fell while taking a shower tonight. Can you bring me some band-aids?" Jiangyu's voice was very weak, as if he would die in the next second. "Bring some band-aids. From the sound of your voice, it seems like you're dying. Are you sure the band-aid will work? How about I bring you some quick-acting heart pills?" Feng's words made Su Liuli, who was standing next to him, laugh. "What quick-acting heart-saving pill? A band-aid will do. That's it for now. Remember to bring back the band-aid. I'm depending on you to save my life." After saying that, Jiangyu hung up the phone. Speaking of which, Xiaokai, is this trick of ours useful? There are still more than 40 minutes before lights out. What if Feng really comes back? Putting down the phone, Jiangyu looked at Xiaokai, who was meditating on the bed with a confused look on his face. He looked energetic and didn't look injured at all. Don't worry tilde. Feng and senior sister Su want to go back to the dormitory, so they must be near the school now. Bring you a band-aid. 90% of the time you'll think of buying one from the infirmary. The school clinic closed early today. It will be too late to go from the clinic to the pharmacy outside unless Feng is Iron Man. What if Feng should send senior sister Su back first, and then go buy some band-aids? What should we do? Zhang Tianyu's words were like a revelation to Xiaokai, giving him a shock. No way. The three close roommates were making plans in the dormitory, while Feng and Su Liuli had no idea what was going on. When the two arrived at the school infirmary, they found that it had closed an hour in advance. There are still 20 minutes until lights out. We are running out of time. Let me take you back to the dormitory first. Looking at the time on his mobile phone, Feng prepared to send Su Liuli back first. Can you do it on your own? I want to be with you. Looking up, Su Liuli's eyes were firm. If she sent her back, Feng would definitely not be able to return to the dormitory, and she would be worried even if she went back. What if I can't go back? It doesn't matter. It's not like I haven't lived outside before. I trust you. These four simple words kept Feng in his daze for a long time. Good. With just one simple word, he held the bag in one hand and held Su Liuli's wrist with the other, and the two of them walked out of the school gate again. Fortunately, there was a pharmacy near the school. After buying a box of band-aids, the two came to the downstairs of the boys' dormitory. It was 10:40, and 10 minutes had passed since the dormitory was due to close. Feng, you're back. A deliberately suppressed voice came from upstairs. On the second floor, the screen window was opened a little and Jiangyu poked his head out. How do I get back? How can I give you the band-aid? Come on, tie the band-aid to the rope and I'll pull it up. A rope made of shoelaces was thrown down from the window. What Feng didn't expect was that his ID card was tied to it. After seeing Jiangyu and looking at the ID card on the rope, it was not until this moment that Feng understood. So, things like falling down in the shower and buying band-aids were all excuses used by these guys. There is only one purpose: to prevent myself from going back to the dormitory. There was an ID card tied to the rope, but Su Liuli didn't notice it. After putting away the ID card, Feng did not forget to tie the band-aid tightly and pulled the band-aid back upstairs. Jiangyu actually closed the window directly. Even Su Liuli, who was standing not far behind Feng, did not expect this operation. We can't go back to the dormitory, let's go out first. Hearing Feng's words, Su Liuli nodded silently. After leaving the school, even though Su Liuli had already had the experience of checking in a room once, she was still a little nervous. After walking a few dozen steps, Su Liuli stopped and said, I brought my ID card with me today. Do you have yours? She took out her ID card from her bag. She needed to provide additional information for her part-time job today, so she brought her ID card with her. ID card. I don't think I brought it. Chapter 28: Sleeping in a bath towel. Then we can only book another room. Feng didn't bring his ID card, but Su Liuli didn't doubt it. After all, no one would go out with an ID card after military training. I kept walking forward and before I knew it, I arrived outside the hotel where I stayed last time. I'm going to register. You wait here for me. Su Liuli held the ID card in her hand and spoke softly to Feng. Hearing this, Feng nodded immediately. Just like that, watching Su Liuli enter the hotel, Feng slowly took out his ID card from his trouser pocket. After taking a quick look at it, he put the ID card back into his trouser pocket. If Su Liuli found out about this, I don't know what she would think of him. 5 minutes later, Su Liuli came out of the hotel and waved to Feng at the door. Seeing Su Liuli's gesture, Feng immediately stepped forward with his things. The aunt at the door was concentrating on her work, as if she couldn't see anything. She took the elevator upstairs and opened the door of the room. The difference from last time was that Su Liuli booked a standard room this time. The room was very clean, with a coffee table between the two beds. After putting the things in his hands behind the door, Feng went straight to the bed. Perhaps too tired from shopping, Su Liuli also came to the bed and sat down. In the evening I want to take a bath. Feng was standing beside the bed, and was about to sit down to rest when he suddenly heard Su Liuli's gentle voice. At this moment, Su Liuli had a hint of embarrassment in her beautiful eyes. But there was nothing she could do about it. She had been working in the kindergarten all afternoon and the weather was hot, so she was sweating all over. If I don't take a shower at night, I won't be able to sleep. Do you want to wash now? You can wash it later. The sooner the better, the better. Let's wash it now. Let me turn off the air conditioner for you. As he said this, he took the initiative to go to the control switch and turned off the air conditioner. At this moment, Su Liuli stared at Feng blankly with a pair of big, dark and clear eyes. When Feng turned around, he noticed that Su Liuli was staring at him in a daze. With black hair as white as lacquer and beautiful eyes, Su Liuli slowly stood up in front of Feng. Passing by Feng, she stopped and her eyelashes flickered. I'm going to take a shower, you are not allowed to peek. Forehead. Don't worry, I won't peek. Feng promised, raising 3 fingers. After hearing Feng's words, Su Liuli finally felt at ease and went into the bathroom. After 2 or 3 minutes of sound, Feng could clearly hear the sound of flowing water while standing outside. Having promised not to peek, he naturally could not go back on his word. While Su Liuli was taking a shower, he made the bed. About 20 minutes later, the sound of water in the bathroom gradually stopped. Then, the bathroom door opened. Su Liuli, wrapped in a bath towel, tiptoed out, wearing disposable slippers, her round calves exposed to the air. If you look closely, you can still see the water droplets on the skin. Su Liuli walked out of the bathroom without even looking at Feng. She ran straight to the bed, lifted the quilt, wrapped in a bath towel, and got into bed. Liuli, you. sleeping wrapped in a towel. Watching Su Liuli wrapped in a bath towel and getting into bed, Feng was really at a loss whether to laugh or cry for a moment. My skirt is wet tilde. Curled up on the bed, Su Liuli felt helpless. Although I was very careful when taking a shower, I still accidentally got my skirt wet. She couldn't wear the wet skirt, so she had to come out wrapped in a bath towel. Fortunately, her underwear was fine under the skirt, otherwise she would really cry. All right. Just stay in bed. I'll go to the bathroom and dry your clothes with a hair dryer. After speaking to Su Liuli, Feng went straight into the bathroom. In the bathroom, Su Liuli's white long skirt was hanging on the hanger, and the middle part including the upper body was soaked. After more than 20 minutes of unremitting efforts, the white dress was finally almost dry. He took out clothes and prepared to let Su Liuli change into a skirt before going to bed. What Feng didn't expect was that Su Liuli on the bed was already asleep. Curled up in the bed with only her head sticking out, at first glance, she looked less stunning and more adorable. Su Liuli finally fell asleep, and Feng didn't want to disturb her. She raised her hand to hang the skirt on the hanger next to her, turned on the air conditioner in the room again, and then went to another bed and lay down to sleep. No words were spoken that night. In the blink of an eye, it was the next morning. Because he was close to the window and the curtains were not closed tightly, a faint light shone through the gap onto Feng's face. I woke up in a daze and picked up the phone next to me to check the time. It was just past 5 o'clock, and because it was summer, it was already bright outside. 5 o'clock tilde. Rub your eyes and sit up straight. Looking at the bed next to him, Feng was immediately startled when he saw Su Liuli sleeping soundly. The bath towel wrapped around her body was kicked to the ground at some point, revealing her upper body with a pair of arms placed in front of her, with most of her white underwear exposed. Fortunately, my lower body was covered tightly, otherwise I would have had a nosebleed. This. He opened his mouth, but Feng could only smile bitterly. After the last time, I have some experience. Compared to the last time when the octopus hugged me and slept soundly, this time was nothing. Without disturbing Su Liuli, who was sleeping soundly, Feng quietly walked towards the bathroom. When he came out of the bathroom, Su Liuli was still sleeping soundly on the bed. Thinking that it was still early, Feng returned to the bed and prepared to take a nap. I don't know how much time had passed, but when I opened my eyes again, Su Liuli on the bed next to me had already gotten up and even changed into a white dress. You're awake tilde. I heard you snoring. With curved eyebrows, she stood gracefully beside the bed and looked at Feng with a smile. There is an indescribable beauty in her every frown and smile. Do I snore? No. Feng sat up in a daze, a little hesitant. He shouldn't snore when he sleeps. Maybe it's because the military training is too tiring. It's almost 7 o'clock and we have to go back to school. Oh, okay. Hearing Su Liuli's words, Feng agreed, got up and packed up simply. 20 minutes later, the two walked out of their hotel. In the early morning of Shanghai, the sun is shining brightly and the morning air gives people a refreshing feeling. After leaving the hotel, the two did not eat breakfast and returned to their dormitories. When Feng returned to the boys' dormitory, Xiao Kai and others had just gotten up. I have to go to the playground for training at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's already past 7 o'clock. If I don't get up and pack up, I'll be late, which will be no joke. When they saw Feng pushing the door open, Jiangyu, Xiao Kai and the others were extremely excited. Jiangyu put down the towel in his hand, and Zhang Tianyu and Xiao Kai, with toothbrushes in their mouths, rushed quickly to Feng. Feng. How was last night? We are good friends, right? Har har har. Jiangyu spoke first, and Xiao Kai and Zhang Tianyu also laughed, and the toothpaste foam at the corners of their mouths almost fell to the ground. Jiangyu, aren't you dying? What's going on? Is this the last gasp of life? Chapter 29. I invest 10 million. Jiangyu was stunned when Feng said this. What do you mean by last gasp? Feng, don't be so ungrateful. You know, we almost went bald last night because of you. Jiangyu, don't talk nonsense. Who came up with this idea? Your performance is just good at best. Yes, Kaizi is right. The three of them were talking to each other, and Feng stood there, unable to get a word in. Okay, I will remember your kindness in my heart. Some other day, I'll treat you guys to dinner some other day. I had no choice but to speak and let the three of them continue talking, and I didn't know how long it would end. Okay. That's what I've been waiting for. Jiu Feng made it clear that he wanted to treat them to a meal, and Xiao Kai and the other two achieved their goal, so they turned around and continued to clean up. After the three of them had changed into their military training uniforms, there was no movement from Jiu Feng's side. Then they remembered that Jiu Feng had asked for leave in the morning. After a few words of greeting, the three of them left one after another. Just 1 minute later, Jiu Feng was the only one left in the dormitory. I took out my phone to check the time. It was not yet 8 o'clock. He is now rushing to Magic City University and has plenty of time. After changing into decent clothes, I walked out of the dormitory, hailed a taxi at the school gate, and headed towards Shanghai University. When we arrived outside Shanghai University, it was just past 8 o'clock. It's still early, let's go have breakfast first. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the first class of Magic City University had just begun. Strolling around the campus, Jiu Feng went straight to the nearest restaurant. When we entered the restaurant, there were almost no people inside. He bought some breakfast and waited silently until 8:30. Then Jiu Feng took out his cell phone and called Professor Wu. On the phone, Professor Wu asked him to go to the basement floor of building number 3. After hanging up the phone, Jiu Feng walked straight to building number 3 of Modu Complex. Entering the basement floor of building number 3, outside the nearest classroom, I saw Professor Wu standing at the door waiting from a distance. Seeing Professor Wang, Jiu Feng couldn't help but quicken his pace. Professor Wu, sorry to have kept you waiting. When he came in front of Professor Wu, Jiu Feng smiled indifferently and took the initiative to shake hands with Professor Wu. You are quite mature, you are the first student to shake my hand directly when we meet. While shaking hands with Jiu Feng, Professor Wu did not forget to make a joke with a smile. Only then did Jiu Feng realize that he was still a student and had forgotten his identity in a trance. Professor, I'm so sorry. I'm so excited to see you. Har har har. Okay, the members of the peak competition project team are all in here, come in and take a look. Raising his hand and patting Jiu Feng's shoulder, Professor Wu made way and motioned Jiu Feng to go in first. Professor, you go first. Good. Faced with Jiu Feng's politeness, Professor Wu didn't think much about it and turned around to enter the classroom first. Jiu Feng followed closely behind, and the two of them came in from the door together. There were almost several hundred seats in the huge tiered classroom, and at a glance, only the front row was occupied. There are about 15 or 16 people. Come, let me introduce you. These are the members of the peak competitive project team. This is the project leader, Liu Qi. Jiu Feng was brought to a fat boy who was wearing thick black rimmed glasses and had a bit of high altitude redness on his chubby face. When Liu Qi saw Jiu Feng, he was stunned. He heard from Professor Wu that someone was planning to invest in peak competition, but he didn't expect that it was a young man like himself. Liu Qi, this is what I told you, investors. Standing in the middle, Professor Wu introduced the two parties. After confirming that Jiu Feng was the investor Professor Wu mentioned, not only Liu Qi was stunned, but even the other members of the project team were dumbfounded. But no matter how confused I was still dumbfounded. Professor Wu must have his reasons for personally identifying the investor. Even though Liu Qi had his doubts, he still greeted him politely. Hello, I'm Liu Qi, the project leader of peak competition. Hello, I'm Jiu Feng. The investors are here too. It's not easy to get investment. Let me first talk about the peak competition project. Okay, Professor Wu. Please take a seat tilde. Professor Wu and Jiu Feng were asked to sit in the front center, and Liu Qi came to the center of the podium with his laptop. Next, let me explain the Peak Competitive Game project. Peak Competition is a fair battle mobile game based on. Liu Qi stood on the podium, holding a laptop and carefully explained the game's planning, research and development mechanism, and current development progress. It was unexpected that the Peak Competition project team could develop the game to this stage with the help of such simple equipment at the Magic City University incubation base. Investors, how do you feel after listening to this? When Liu Qi finished his story, Professor Wu turned around and looked at Jiu Feng with a smile. I feel very good. Jiu Feng did not hide his admiration. According to Liu Qi, the development is nearing completion, and now only testing and servers are left. Jiu Feng and Professor Wu talked in low voices. Liu Qi put away his notebook, walked off the stage and came in front of the two of them. Liu Qi, I am very interested in this game. How much do you estimate it will take for subsequent development, testing, and server setup? Seeing Liu Qi coming, Jiu Feng took the initiative to ask. Unexpectedly, Jiu Feng was so straightforward. Liu Qi did not hide anything and said immediately, preliminary estimate, 5 million. 5 million. Jiu Feng smiled and shook his head. Liu Qi thought that it was too much and looked at Professor Wu next to him. Subsequent development can continue at Shanghai University, but if we want to go online, we must test and build servers. Modu University does not have these conditions. When setting up a server, we need to consider the number of users. If we are too conservative, the server may crash after it goes online. Liu Qi, don't be anxious yet. Listen to what Jiu Feng has to say. Professor Wu was not surprised. He had talked with Jiu Feng before. If he wanted to really run the game of peak competition, 5 million would definitely not be enough. I'll invest 10 million. What? 10 million? You're serious? Jiu Feng asked to invest 10 million, which almost made Liu Qi drop his jaw. If he could really get an investment of 10 million, he was confident that he could launch peak competition in the shortest possible time. Really? The project team does not need to continue research and development at Magic University. I will set up a company and fully cooperate with you. As for setting up the server for testing, you can do it yourself. I only have one request, that the peak competition be launched as soon as possible. No problem. Liu Qi agreed without hesitation. They had been developing this game for a long time and now it was finally going online, how could they not be excited?